I was 6 years into the ownership of my own company with my partner, and we were in our second recession. We bought the company in 2002, recession right away. Then boom, we hit recession again in 2008. You know, when you're selling office furniture, who needs more cubicles when they laid a bunch of people off, right? We got plenty of cubicles. We don't need a guy like you around, right? And it was tough. And I remember looking at my partner going, hey, you've been in this industry 35 years and you dragged me into it 6 years ago. Is this going to happen every 5 years? I said, because this is tough. Our business had dropped in half from 2007 to 2008. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, that's a quick time to have another recession, and this one seems like a tough one. And I don't have any more ideas on what to do. And I said, well, that's lovely. I said, because I'm the CPA guy, he's the sales guy. And I kept saying, well, you're supposed to generate all the sales. It's not my job. And he said, I don't know what else to do. He said, I've been in Milwaukee in furniture for this long, and we just got to wait this thing out a little bit. I said, oh my gosh. I remember going home and telling my wife, I said, I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to pay for college, or what's going to happen here with this deal, right? Because it was just too fast and too quick, and it was just, nobody was doing anything. Well, I was not on any social media sites at the time, so that was 2008, right? And I was on no Facebook, no Twitter, no LinkedIn. I thought they were the silliest things in the world. I kept thinking to myself, as people are saying, why aren't you on LinkedIn? I kept saying, I want to really have a profile out there so people can bother me. Remember, I'm an accountant, right? Us accountants don't like anybody bothering us, right? I said, it just seems intrusive. And I had a million reasons I was not going to do LinkedIn or Twitter or any of the other ones. But business stayed crappy, and I had this friend who came up to me every Sunday after church, and he would look me in the eye and go, Wayne, I see you're still not on LinkedIn. I said, you're right, Todd, I'm still not on LinkedIn. He said, how come? I said, I tell you all the reasons I'm not being on LinkedIn. I think it's silly. My daughters are doing it. It's their game. I'm too old guy. It's going to pass. This is fad. I said, I had a laundry list, right? And he said, then don't complain about business being bad. He said, don't complain to me, because you won't even try something that I'm telling you. It works for me. And he owned his own little manufacturer's rep business. He said, it works for me. I think it worked great for you. And so I just kept blowing him off every Sunday. Well, I got stuck in a hotel room in Holland, Michigan during that harassment. And I was over at Hayworth, and I had a whole bunch of meetings during the day. And my afternoon meeting canceled, but I still had to stick around for a nighttime meeting. So I'm sitting in my hotel room for 2 hours in Holland, Michigan in the middle of March. You know, it's crappy out. It's gray and cold and nothing to do. I go, well, I'm going to try this stupid thing. And I thought, you know what? In about 20 minutes, I'll see it's stupid and I'll be fine. Well, my 20 minutes turned into me going, oh my gosh, this thing's pretty cool. And from that hotel room, I spent about another hour, and then I ordered a couple of books on Amazon. Because being a CPA, that's where I'm very methodical in what I learn and do, especially if it's new, right? I'm not going to do anything new quickly, as you already know that. So I read these books for the next couple months in the privacy of my own home, and I'm studying LinkedIn. I'm sitting next to my wife, usually doing what I'm watching TV. And one night she looked over at me and says, what is with you with the books and the computer? Every night you're playing around while we're sitting here watching TV. I said, honey, this was that thing that Todd was bothering me about every Sunday after church. You heard him. And she looked over at me like a good wife, and she said, oh, he was right, huh? And I said, right? He was right. I should have listened months ago. I bet you I'd have sold some furniture by now. Well, it was at about the 2-month time frame of training and learning, teaching myself how to use LinkedIn. I went to my partner. I said, hey, Tim, can I have a sales meeting with the sales team? He said, well, you own half the company. You can have a sales meeting anytime you want. I said, well, that's your space, so I don't usually go over there, you know. He said, yeah, well, what do you want to teach him? I said, I learned how to use LinkedIn. He said, oh, I got a LinkedIn account. I've never done anything with it, but you know how to use it? I said, I think so. I said, let me have a sales meeting. So I did. 5 salespeople, right? 3 baby boomers, a 30-something and a 20-something. That's who's in the room. One of the baby boomers is my partner. So I have this training meeting, 2 hours. I think I'm getting everybody all fired up to do LinkedIn, right? Oh, we're going to make a lot of money. Let's go get them, right? Just like an owner would do. Guess what happened? Nothing. Except the 20-something. The 20-something loved the training. He thought it was so cool because he was already on Facebook. So he understood it and wasn't intrusive to him. And he got all. A week later, he comes in, fired up in the morning after going to a chamber event the night before. He said, Wayne, I just went to this chamber event and I found out this company's moving. And moving, remodeling, growing, and expanding is a hot, those are our trigger terms, right? And he said, and I punched the name of the company into LinkedIn and you know the president, such and such. I said, Yeah, I've been in Milwaukee for 32 years. I know that guy. We worked at Arthur Andersen together. Well, you think you could get a meeting set up for the two of us? I said, pretty sure. Boom, meeting. Week later, same thing. He comes back from a meeting and he goes, a friend of yours knows the CFO. I could see that on LinkedIn. You think you could call your friend and maybe get in front of that? I said, I'll try. Boom, meeting. Pretty soon, I started leaving the office going to sales calls with this young guy. And we were like the dynamic duo. That's what they called us. There goes Batman and Robin again. Off they go. Wayne's getting out of the office again. And it was really just because he was going out finding out what's going on. I didn't want to go to After Fives anymore. I'm too old for that, you know? I mean, I think about him. He loved the After Five chamber stuff because the girls were there and the drinking. And, I mean, we were all in that space, you know, right? I mean, so he's out there hearing and listening. But what he didn't have was relationships. So, you know, he's 2 years out of school. He didn't know presidents and CFOs, but I did. And so it was the combination of his energy and his getting out there and my experience. I always point to this when I talk about experience, right? Because behind this is usually what? Lots of relationships and then lots of experiences, right? And he didn't have either of them. But he was able to figure some stuff out. Well, 3 months after I got a LinkedIn account, we landed our first $250,000 account. I was really proud of myself because I wasn't a sales guy, right? I mean, I said to my partner, I said, hey, pretty good, huh? I said, I think LinkedIn's for real. I said, I think it's for real too. And so we landed this $250,000 account where we were not the incumbent furniture dealer. And if you know anything about our business, it's tougher than heck to break into a business because they usually got a whole bunch of Herman Miller or a whole bunch of Steelcase. And you know, you're invested in that product line, so even the Hayworth guy knocking on the door goes, hey, you got nice stuff, but I got a whole bunch of Herman Miller. I'm not about to switch. Well, in this case, what happened was I got a hold of one of our other sales guys was a friend with a doctor in Madison, 90 miles away, who used to play golf with the CEO of the company when he used to be a doctor in Milwaukee. So we worked that relationship, sending all the information to our doctor friend who said, yeah, I'm still friends with that guy. He sends it over to him, boom, we are able to get a meeting with the CEO. Otherwise, we would have been one of the other 8 furniture guys, boom, boom, boom. I understand you're building a new building. We'd love to be involved. Yeah, you and 10 others. I'll put your name on the pink slip and give it to the facilities guy and maybe he'll get back to you, right? That's how it is. It was just cold calling. It's what, when we knew there was a project, we'd cold call. But this way was so much easier because the doctor told the CEO, hey, I know this guy from the Hayworth dealer. He's a nice guy. And I hear Hayworth's a pretty good product. You might want to talk to him because you probably got to get prices from somebody else. Yeah, we got to get prices for sure. Boom. So we got the meeting. So it was all of a sudden it was starting to come together with something that I go, you know what, this is powerful. And the more I got into it, the more here's what I thought about LinkedIn. I hope you start thinking about it this way. LinkedIn helps make your world a lot smaller. It was in that hotel room and when I saw how you could find who knew who, and we're going to do that right up front here. When I saw that you could see who your friends knew, I said, man, Milwaukee just got smaller. A lot smaller, especially if you've been in the market for a long time. And I've been in Milwaukee since I graduated from college, right? So I did know a lot of people, but I didn't know who they knew. And when I could start to see who they knew, and then who they knew, a 3rd degree, that's what you get on LinkedIn, 3 degrees of separation. All of a sudden, you're right, your marketplace is going to get awfully small because chances are some friend knows somebody at that place, or at least a friend does, right? And that's what LinkedIn gives you is the pathway to do that. So what we're going to do today is we got a whole bunch of time together, and I got a whole bunch more than even the time we got to show you of stuff because I know how you could use this tool. And we're going to concentrate on sales, and we're going to concentrate on some recruiting stuff and some marketing stuff. Those are the 3 things that I think LinkedIn's the best at, and it's actually the thing that when I talked to Damon and Vincent, they said that you wanted me to cover. So it's going to be sort of those 3 spaces, but you know, I'm here for you guys today. I don't want you to hit that door at 12 o'clock and go, crap, he didn't cover this, right? So I'm going to make sure at the break, right after the break, we're going to do short Q&A. And at the end, we will have plenty of time too. And if you don't get your question answered at noon and you want to come back, I don't get picked up till 1 o'clock. So I'd rather talk to you than start answering emails. So feel free to take any of those 3 slots if you want to jump into my life and say, I do this, but I didn't quite get this, Wayne. No problem. Happy to talk to you. Handouts. Here's what you got in front of you. There's an agenda. I would suggest you pull that just rip this apart probably. If it's stapled, it's not stapled. Good. So put the agenda in front of you first. Where's the agenda? Yeah, so the agenda is, I don't know if I have that page. Keep flipping. Yeah, put the checklist. Well, no, the agenda looks like this. It says the power formula for LinkedIn success. Got Roman numerals. That's the one. You put that in front of you. We're going to roll through that sort of in that way. The rest of the things are worksheets that are going to go with the agenda. Okay. So what you've been seeing behind me, and we'll reference this as we go through, is an annual survey that I take on what people are doing with LinkedIn, what are their favorite features and stuff. And we'll talk about those as we move through. Okay, one more thing of general note. LinkedIn has 332 million members currently. They just announced last week that's what they're up to, 332 million. 1 million new people join LinkedIn every week. 1 million every week. It started in the year 2000 as really pretty much a job seeker site. Place for recruiters and job seekers to sort of get together online. That's a worthy cause. Well, it's gone to a lot more than that. Like last year in Fortune magazine, cover article was about LinkedIn. In the past year, LinkedIn has emerged as one of the most powerful business tools on the planet. Sounds like more than a recruiting site to me. And the real question you got to ask yourself is the most powerful business tool on the planet helping you grow your business, right? Instead of, when I meet people, and I've met 3 or 4 people today that gave me this line, oh yeah, I have one. That's the line I get. I have one. What's one? Well, I have an account. Well, that would tell me that you're not getting anything out of it. Well, pretty much not getting it. So today we're going to get that, man. We're going to get to the point by this end of this class, and you're going to be drinking out of a fire hose this morning, and I apologize for that. But you're going to know what LinkedIn could do for you. Not just in those 3 spaces we talked about. Lots of things, but I'm telling you, this thing is a tremendous tool for lots of things that you try to struggle with and do. You do all the things that LinkedIn does in business now, but not as efficiently, okay? And so as I go to my screen and start digging into LinkedIn in detail, here's what I'd like you to think about the rest of this morning. Don't think about LinkedIn as a social media tool. Don't. Because I think that's one of its problems, is because it gets lumped together with Facebook and Twitter, and especially older guys like me go, ugh, social media, right? Yuck. Think about it this way. It's the largest database of business professionals we've ever had, and we can access it. And now it's up to 332 million, like I said, 1 million new every week. This is a beautiful database. And think about, if you just think about everything I talk about the rest of the day as this is a database, and it's mostly for free, and you can usually find the people you want, whether it's employees, customers, suppliers, vendors, and so on. That's the key to LinkedIn. It's not that we can post status updates like Facebook and Twitter. That's one of the marketing features. Yes, that's a marketing feature. But that's not the key. The key is the database. The key is that we've got everybody pretty much putting a profile out there, and that profile's loaded with where you went to school, the kind of keywords, what companies you work for, and so on. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna drop this down, and the rest of the time I'm gonna be on LinkedIn proper. I'll probably bring a slide or 2 up along the way. Okay, a little bit about my LinkedIn account. So this is going to be live LinkedIn the rest of the way, with maybe just a couple of small exceptions if I need to go there. I'm on a paid account currently, but I only upgraded 6 months ago. Okay, so 4.5 years, free user. So I like to explain this early because lots of people, if I don't tell you this early, you'll go, I'll bet you the stuff he's doing up there is because he's paying some money. No. I'm going to show you 2 or 3 things the whole morning that are paid. But by the end, we could have a discussion, if I don't mention it before, why you might want to upgrade. And don't be like the guy I met 3 weeks ago. He comes up to me after an event. He goes, hi, Wayne, nice presentation. I really enjoyed it. And I just wanted to tell you that I just upgraded my account and spending $30 a month. And I said, oh, that's nice. Why did you do that? Well, I figured that since I wasn't getting anything out of the free account, maybe if I wrote LinkedIn a check, something would start happening. And I said, oh my gosh, my friend, let's look at your profile. And I looked at his profile. I said, you are wasting your money. Cancel it right away, spend 10 or 15 bucks on my book, and spend the next year and a half doing all the free stuff because you are so far from spending money. It ain't even funny. But he just figured I wasn't getting out of it, right? The free account is wonderful. And like I said, it took me four and a half years to upgrade, and really because of one little feature, and I'll show you what that is and why when we get to that point. So don't freak out. Everything I'm going to show you, like I said, with just a couple of exceptions. Let's start with this. I told you it's a database, right? It's just a database, and it's a great database because most people are getting on it, all right? Searching. We're going to start with searching because if you understand searching, then you'll understand how to do your profile. Okay, because at the 35,000 foot view, what LinkedIn is you finding people and them finding you. You finding people and them finding you. And you finding people is using the database. Yes, sir?
I leave it open on my other screen just because I'm hearing stuff and I just immediately check.
That's a great idea. I mean, if you figure this tool out, you will be on this thing at least once a day. Maybe leave it up open all day because you should be checking people out for sure. Okay, so let me do a search. How many of you have actually gone up and clicked the word advanced right here? Raise your hand if you've ever done that. Good, very good. And so it takes you to this screen, right? That's the screen you get to if you're on the free account. When you click that, basically it's like Mr. LinkedIn just walked through the door and said, hey, Damon, how you doing, man? Mr. LinkedIn here. I got 332 million people back here in this database. I don't know who you want to meet. That's what's going on. What's going on with this screen is LinkedIn's got this huge database, but you got to help it get smaller now, right? You got to get it to drill down into the people that you want to meet. So let me give you an example. I think, Damon, you'd probably like to meet with IT professionals, right? That could be one of the people, right? So your decision makers could be IT people, CFOs, presidents, right? CIOs, right? So people in that space, right? So that's the first thing you got to know before you dig into the search engine is what words do people describe themselves, right? And you got to get better and better at this. You got to get better at figuring out the words that people put on their profile. And I'll tell you a few stories about some stumbles that I had in this whole space. So I did a search, and I'm going to leave this page up, but I'm going to show you a search that I did for, so I did a search for, under the job title, IT and either director, vice president, or manager, 10 miles from this zip code. There's 1,339 people who have that on their profile in their current job title. All right? Now, I'm pretty sure this list got some juicy people for Damon, right? Got some great people for Damon. Now we have to step back and go, okay, nice list, Wayne. What am I going to do with them? Well, let's first understand how the list works. And I'm going to go back to the first page. I was digging around a little deeper before everybody got here. I want to go to page 1 here. Because there's 1,339 people, that's 133 pages worth of IT people 10 miles from this location. Okay, if this is an interesting list for you, then you got to decide what to do with it, right? You got to decide how to work it. Now, what starts to come up on this list are a bunch of people, plus next to their name is what? A number. And that number signifies the relationship I have with those people, right? So in this case, do I know Philip or Nan or Prakash? I don't, right? Because they're all second degree, right? Right? I don't know any of those people on that list. Yeah.
Could you just give us a quick rundown of your use of the word or?
Sure. Yeah, let's talk about that.
As well?
You bet. So you got to follow Boolean search logic. B-O-O-L-E-A-N. B-O-O-L-E, Boolean search logic. And it's the same logic you should use when you're Googling. Okay? Boolean. B-O-O-L-E-A-N.
Boolean.
Boolean. Yeah, some people say Boolean, right? So the deal behind Boolean search, it's not difficult, but there's a few things you got to do. Like if I wrote the word and there, not in caps, it wouldn't work. Or if I want to do or, it's O, capital R. Right? So just Google that. Google Boolean search logic. It'll be about a 2-page PDF. Simple as that, right? So you've got to figure out those logic things. But then secondly, you got to figure out the words that people describe themselves. Like I would do this when I'm teaching a manufacturing company. They always tell me, I want to meet the purchasing guy. Well, I would do a presentation like this and put purchasing in there, and a nice list would come up. Well, one day I was doing an event like this. I was having a beer with a guy afterward. He said, Wayne, I'm going to help you with your search. You didn't get everybody. I said, what do you mean I didn't get everybody? He said, well, not everybody calls themselves purchasing guys anymore. I said, what? Right. So I said, what else do they call themselves? Procurement, sourcing, right? So think, what you have to do is you put procurement or, capital O, capital R, sourcing or purchasing, right? And you've got to use the or with caps, and then LinkedIn will find the people that have that. And if you don't click current job title, then you're going to get all the people that either had a job there in purchasing once and don't anymore, right? So the cool thing is you just start playing around with the ors and the ands. If you write a list like I just did there with the and I manager and all that, and you don't get anybody, then you made it too tight. Or you spelled the word wrong usually.
When you put and, is it looking for all those criteria?
Right, so and means, in this case I said, in the current job title, those words have to be there. If I would have said or, then it could have been one or the other, right? So, and like I put just VP in there, I probably need to expand that to type out the words vice president. Because there isn't a standard way to do things. People write their own profiles, right? And when you write the word vice president, what do you have to do? What's the Boolean search logic? Put quotes around it. Or you're going to get vice and you're going to get the president, right? So, and that's about all there is to this. There's not much more. If you want to search real estate, quotes. Office furniture, quotes. Because you're telling the search engine, listen, I want office furniture together. I don't want all the residential furniture thrown in there and then the office supplies, right? Tells me just office furniture. And you'll get better at this, and trust me, if you have trouble with Boolean search logic, just go talk to your grandkids. Hey, will you show Grandpa how to Google? Because they know how to do this stuff, right? I mean, they don't know what's called Boolean search logic, but these kids have grown up on this stuff. It's like they know how to Google really well. The rest of us are like, Boolean, what's he talking about, right? I mean, I didn't grow up on this stuff. It's weird. It's weird, but the good news is not that difficult, and you'll get better and better at it. Okay, so this is a search for a potential target for Damon. Now let me show you another search that I did to see how he would come up. I did a search for, hang on, it's this one. I think it was one back from here. So I did a search for VoIP. Okay? Everybody know what VoIP means? Okay, cool. It's a very important term to him. It's a great keyword. And I'm going to talk about keywords a lot today. Keywords are everything, whether you're Googling or whether you're searching on LinkedIn, because people are going to use keywords to find us, right? So I do the search for VoIP, 25 miles from this zip code. 17,000 people come up. Whoa, big list, right? But let's take a look at the list so we can start to understand how the search engine works. It's 10 people on a page. Look at the great news at the bottom of the page. Is Kim here? Yeah. Cool. Hi, Kim. It's good to see you. So we got and how many people are in your company?
15.
15. How many salespeople?
4.
4 salespeople in his whole company, right? 17,000 people. 2 people on the first page. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. So one thing you're going to figure out is how the search engine works. You got to understand how LinkedIn does the search engine. And these guys did not get on the page just because LinkedIn knew they were going to be at the event today when I push the button and here they come. It doesn't know that, right? They got on the first page for lots of reasons, but the most important reason is I'm connected to them. Okay? So the first factor that comes into how you get on page 1 or page, you know how many pages 17,000 people is? 1,700 pages. And we all want to be on the first page, right? I mean, Google search, LinkedIn search, whatever. But the number one factor that at least gives these guys a chance to get high on the search is that they know Wayne. Okay, so let's just stop for a second. They know Wayne. So what that means for all of us that want to do LinkedIn well is we need a lot of what? Connections, right. We need a lot of connections, but especially the kinds of connections that are going to look for you. So a connection in Bangladesh. How many have been invited by Bangladesh or Afghanistan? We're going, what? Bangladesh? Who, what? They want your email address. They want to just start spamming you. It's a sad world that people do that, but they will. That Bangladesh person, unless you sell in Bangladesh or want to recruit in Bangladesh, he ain't going to help you. But an IT person in this space, it's a great connection for a guy like Damon, right? So it isn't like you want to be willy-nilly with your connections and go, everybody come on into my network. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's not a strategy. You need to have a strategy that ties into who you like to meet. Really, before LinkedIn, who do you like to meet? Who would you have a beer with? That's what it boils down to. People go, well, I don't know who I should meet. I said, what's your job? I'm a CPA. Or where's my payroll guy? What's your first name again? Jeff. So I met Jeff this morning. He's in the payroll service business, right? So if Jeff said to me, well, I don't know. I said, who do you meet every day? Who are the decision makers? Oh, presidents, CFOs, CEOs. Sometimes the HR person might be involved, the controller, right? Those are all wonderful connections for him that he wants to make so that if the day comes that they're going to search on LinkedIn for payroll services, guess where you come up? Pretty high. Because LinkedIn goes, well, I'm going to put your friends near the top. I ought to, right? You're looking for VoIP, and he's your guy. You met him somewhere. Why would I put a stranger up there? No, somebody was ahead of him. Notice that? They weren't 1 and 2. Other people got ahead of them, and we'll talk about how that works in a second. But take this home first. When it comes to being high on a search, you're going to need a bunch of connections on LinkedIn, but especially with the right people. Yeah, Paul.
Can we just allow anybody to connect with us?
No, see, the problem with that is that those people might hurt you. And they can hurt you in some ways. Once they connect with you, they get your email address, right? They can take that email address and start selling it. As a matter of fact, I just saw an ad 2 weeks ago. Made me sick, actually. An ad. A company was paying $1,000 for a LinkedIn account that had 500 connections. So people now are setting up fake LinkedIn profiles, going out and hoping that you'll connect with them, and then handing it over to a company who's going to strip those emails out and do something with them. That stinks. But that's, people, there's opportunists everywhere, aren't there, right? So that's not a good strategy either, right? So your strategy should be this. Number one, all the people you trust already. Because LinkedIn, the user agreement that we all read, did you read the user agreement? Nobody does. The user agreement actually says you're only going to connect with people that you know. That's what it says. Now, raise your hand if you've ever been invited by a stranger. Well, we all have, right? So lots of people are in violation of the user agreement. But start with the trust thing. If you trust somebody, they should be in your network. And I don't care what they do, and here's why. Let's say there's a lady from your church, nice lady, you sit next to her every Sunday, you always yak, you know about her kids, and she knows about yours and all that, but she works in the parking garage. Wayne, she works in the parking garage. What the heck? But I see she's on LinkedIn, she wants to connect with you in the parking garage? And I said, well, here's what you don't know about that lady. You know her, all her friends? No. I said, well, maybe she knows some people that are your exact target audience. Yeah, that's, so people that you trust, no matter where in the world they are or what industry they're in, they should be in your network because you could easily call them and say, hey, I see you know this person. Will you introduce me? Boom, they can, right? So start with that. But then when we move past that, it should be strategic. It should be IT professionals. It should be CFOs, right? And especially if they're in your market. If it's a CFO in Los Angeles and you don't sell in Los Angeles, well, it might not hurt you, but it's not what I call good gas. Connections on LinkedIn are the gas in your tank. That's the gas in your tank on LinkedIn. And you go up to gas station, there's choices, right? There's the high octane stuff and there's the best octane connection in your tank is a decision maker in your market. Now, one of the other best octanes in your tank are this, your current customers. Your current customers or clients. Let me ask this question. And without fail, are you connected to every one of your clients? Without fail, raise your hand. You're sure, 100%.
No, I'm just, my concern is
Yeah.
if I connect that my competitors will be able to see.
Okay, let's talk about that. Why are you connected to your competitors?
Because I want to see their stuff.
Okay, let's stop with that. Well, here's the deal. So here's the deal. If you're gonna, the question comes up often, should I be connected to competitors? The only way you should probably be connected to competitors if you're in a really competitive industry, is to go into your settings and turn off the viewability of your first level connections to the rest of your first level connections. Now the problem with that is,
How to do that?
sure, the problem with that is this, it's all or nothing.
So there's no choice.
There's no,
You can't
hey,
do-
you're a good guy, you're okay, you're a bad guy, you're not. Now remember, seconds and thirds can never see connections. So if your competitors are not connected to you, they can't look at your network. It's the question of, do you bring your competitors into your network? And it's a privileged position. Watch that. I'm against it. I am dead against it unless you tell me, Wayne, I will turn it off. Then I feel better.
So if I turn off the setting to let them see my, what is it? My
Connections,
set-
you're only, first see first.
Okay. So
Seconds and thirds never see.
So they can see my first?
If they're a first and you haven't turned off the setting.
Okay.
Just like you could.
Well, I mean, most of my competitors aren't smart enough, and I see everything.
And that, as I make a decision tree on whether you should be with competitors, if you tell me, Wayne, I'm kicking their butt on LinkedIn. I kicked their butt on LinkedIn. Well, then you've decided that you're going to take that risk because it's better for you. It's a risk-reward thing, right? You've weighed, you know your risk, and you say, that's fine, Wayne. I get that. I know what I'm giving up. I know I run that risk, but I'm kicking their butt, and I like to look at who they got. So that's just a choice you make.
Yeah, most of the time I'm linking to their business development people who really are just very open.
Yeah, so now that you understand that choice, it is one. So LinkedIn's got a whole bunch of settings that allow you to tighten this baby way up or keep it loose. Now the looseness of this setting is based on the fact that what is LinkedIn? It's a networking site, right? So in general, we're trying to help our friends. So friends helping friends, the setting is, well, why wouldn't you want your friends to see your other friends and you're trying to help each other? But that's the default, right? That's the default. There was a question back there.
So,
Let me get him first.
I have the setting turned off so
Yeah.
competitors can't see. But can they see when so it shows, comes up sometimes, it'll say, hey, Scott's linked in with so-and-so. So I see my competitors as they're linking in.
You see their updates.
Their updates. So can they see who I'm linking in with, but not just go through my sort of Rolodex?
It depends on where you, see the problem you got there is the minute you're connected to them, they're gonna not only be able to look through they're gonna get your updates as well.
Yeah, so I have it blocked so they can't see my updates.
And if you go turn your updates, don't go out to your connections, and your updates aren't any good. So it's one of these again. It's a risk-reward thing. The key to the risk-reward, though, is understanding your risk and the reward, right? But in general, I'm telling you, I would think twice about competitors. Just because I don't know that we can all be smart enough to know why other people aren't. And think about what you've just given your competitors. You've walked up to them and you've handed them your Outlook. Would that make sense to really anyone? You know, but right? I mean, hand them your Outlook? Sounds pretty silly. That's why the setting is set the way it is. Yes.
so people change. They are friends and they become
Yeah.
foes. When you wipe them out, how do you wipe them out of your system? Do they get a notice that they've been wiped out, or is it just?
Yeah. So the question is, after they've changed from let's say a coworker
Yes.
to a competitor, happens a lot, right? My rule is, coworker to competitor, out. And you can throw them out a couple different ways. You can go to their profile and release them from there, or you can go to your connections and release them from there. I'll show you how to do that as we get into sort of the detail stuff. But here's the deal with that. They don't get a letter on the way out. There's no notification. He just dumped you. They don't tell you get a nice note on the way in. You don't get a note on the way out the door. So I tell you, the worst story I ever had on LinkedIn, personal story was this. I'm about 6 months into my LinkedIn experience, and this young, not my 25-year-old guy, but my 30-something that was in that training class, he quit. And he went to work for a competitor. And we didn't have any non-competes or non-disclosures. And you know what he did the first day? Used his LinkedIn to send a message to all the people in his network telling him he works for the competitor and doesn't work for me anymore. That was one of my worst days of being a business owner. I was sick to my stomach all day. Right? I had taught this young guy how to use LinkedIn. And the next thing you know, he's using a really cool feature on LinkedIn, the ability to send a direct message to your connections, to tell him he doesn't work for me anymore. Ugh. I went home, I was just sick to my stomach. But you know what I did after he quit, though? I had a meeting with all my employees. I said, listen, I know it's your LinkedIn account. You can do whatever you want with it. Attorneys will tell you that. I said, will you do me a favor today? Will you disconnect with him? Will you do that for me? The guy who you see, I'll sign your check Monday. I said, you don't have to, but why would we want to help him? I asked it just like that, right? And I think most people disconnected because, hey, that makes sense. I mean, you are my boss. I said, he's gonna use your network to hurt us. Does that make any sense to me? To you? And I just left the meeting like that. And I asked later, I asked some people, do you think everybody's connected? Yeah, I think they pretty much did. And I just asked, right? Because it didn't make sense to me. Somebody else have a question? Yeah.
When I first joined LinkedIn, I would only link with people I knew, for that reason, or people who I was targeting. Then, when we decided to target it for recruiting, instead of trying to develop direct business, I was recruiting agents that would bring business into me. I was hooking up with people who I didn't know, who would ask me. I would always write back to them what inspired you to connect with me, just so they had a good rationale before I would accept their invitation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm connected now to a whole bunch of competitors, but as we're changing our strategy, maybe going more towards, getting direct customers again, should I secretly disconnect from all these other people?
I mean, not knowing your business more than just that description, I don't know. You got to just step back and say, what did I give them? What do you give them? The second and third degree is not a privileged positions. They get nothing. They're just tag-alongs. But first degree, you say, what do they get from me? They get my email address easily. That's not so tricky these days anyway. Number two, they get to look at my network, unless I turn that setting off, and they'll get my updates. If that bothers you, then you should disconnect. If it doesn't bother you, I'd keep them, because it's gas in the tank, right? It's still gas in the tank of people that might search for you, or you might search for them, right? So in general, you want more gas in your tank, but you got to know what you're giving up and giving. It's that kind of system. I know I didn't answer your question, but I don't know what to say except I don't know your business well enough to know the risk of staying connected, right? That's what it boils down to. What's the risk of staying connected? Yeah, Damon.
So if we were trying to be a little devious here, and you knew your competitors' sales managers were connecting with prospects,
Yeah.
could you find a way to get those specific updates from those competitors? Because the update feed sometimes to me is totally at random. And let's say you're like, these 5 guys, I always want to see who they're connecting with. Is there a way to set that up?
Well, if you can't set up so that you only get updates from certain people,
Okay.
if that's what or you get an email of just the updates from certain people,
Yeah, is there-
it just shows up. It'll show up in your feed. You'd have to go to their profile, then you can look at their updates anytime you want. So you'd have to just set yourself a little reminder, hit their profile, and you could view all their updates.
And that'll just be the feed.
Right,
on
the
their
feed will be there for each person. I'll show you where that's at. But
Well,
there's no automated.
But if we don't turn it off, they in turn could be doing that to us.
Right.
If I'm connecting with my
And
prospects.
if you don't turn off another setting, they'll know you were on their profile. Okay?
And can you do that on the low end? Turn it off so they can't see that I
Yeah.
viewed them?
So, and we'll talk about who's viewed your profile. Let's try to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut off the questions for a little while here just so I can stay on point. And we'll get to one more, last one.
It was, so I'm connected to my competitors and I have my feature turned off so people, they can't see my first connections. What's the upside of having anyone see my first connections? If I'm connected to who I want to connect
Well, the upside is your other friends might see somebody in there and go, hey, Neil, I've been trying to get a hold of these people for a long time. I'm so glad you have a friend there. Could you introduce me? That's
So
all.
let's say, hypothetically, I was really self-serving. I didn't really care about
Yeah.
that. There's really no downside.
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah.
Something for somebody,
Yeah, I mean, the thing you're giving up is the ability for your friends to scroll through your network and you help them meet people.
Really, okay.
That's what you're giving up. Okay, cool. Let's go. So let's talk about the search engine a little bit more, okay? So everybody wants to know how to get to the top. And the relationship is the first driver. As a matter of fact, if you go to LinkedIn's Help Center and go, how do I get to the top of the search for my category? LinkedIn will tell you, well, everything's based on relevancy. And relevancy is a secret formula here at LinkedIn. Very similar to Google, has a secret formula, right? And they'll say, it's some of this and some of this and some of this, and sometimes we do this and sometimes we do this. And so you go, oh, great, you didn't tell me anything. But after all the testing and all the searching I've done, even including like this morning when I'm trying to figure out how do these people get ahead of these guys, right? It starts with a relationship is number one. What relationship do you have with the searcher? So everybody in this room will get 17,392 results if you do the searches like this. But the order is going to be different for all of us because we all have different relationships, right? And the more you're tied into people, like even to answer your question, let's say you have 200 people that you're thinking of dumping, right? 200 people. But they're not hurting you, you don't think. And if those 200 people search for what you do, you'll be on the close to the top. And if their friends search for what you do, you'll at least be a second and be higher than the thirds and the nobodies. So every time you disconnect with somebody is another person that, number one, you won't be very high in the search for them. And their friends, where you've earned the second spot, second degree, you might not got now shoved out to the third or fourth degree. Who knows, right? So you always got to think about you're searching, but then they're searching for you. And when you cut a connection, you've lost the ability for that person to show you high and their friends to show you at least at the second degree. So relationship is first. But then let's think about why did these other 7 people, why isn't it all the first degree and then the second degree and then the third degree? And sometimes group members are sprinkled in there. It's because LinkedIn takes into other things into account for the search engine. And these people did a better job on some of those other things than these 2 guys. I can get these guys to the top in 20 minutes. I can get them to be 1 and 2. I'm pretty sure. I've done it with 1 million clients where you're in this spot and I go, listen, I can move you up quick. I'll tell you one story. I did a class, 150 salespeople from the same company, right? And I said, tell me your number 1 keyword. They told me. And I wrote it on a whiteboard. I said, tell me a few more. We wrote a few more. I said, okay, it's break time. Before this break, I'm going to do the search. Boom, I did the search. 150 salespeople now, mind you. And there were like 8,500 people in the database that had that keyword. I said, let's find any of you guys and gals in this room. It took me 7 pages. 150 people. I said, okay, now it's break time. I want several of you to take that word and put it in your headline. Your headline is right there. I want you to go and put that word in your headline, and then I want a bunch of you to try to connect with me on the break, and I'll accept it on the break too. And we're going to come back and we're going to do that search all over again. Guess what happened? 10 people are on a page, right? First page, 8. 8 people from that company. To me, they look like the only people that sell that stuff. 8 people. Well, you did pretty good. You got at least 2 on that first page out of 18,000. So the point is, the relationship was one thing, but then knowing where to put your keywords is so critical. And having that keyword on you. So the first advice I give you guys is, you need that VoIP. You got it in your headline, which is good. You need it in your job titles. We'll talk more about keywords as we get into the profile. You need it in your job titles, and you need it as many places as you can put it, and it still makes sense to your story. So I don't want you to go into your profile and go, VoIP, comma, VoIP, comma, VoIP, comma, VoIP. What's going to happen with that is, I can promise you, number 1, your credibility drops with your audience. But number 2, LinkedIn will pick up on that. Trust me, I tried it. One Sunday, I thought I was going to, think about who I compete against, right? Other LinkedIn experts. I want to be LinkedIn in the United States. I want to be high. Well, I was moving myself right up the chart. I said, honey, watch me. Look at, I'm just moving right up the chart. It's the coolest thing. And I was on the bottom of the first page, number 10. And I said, you can watch this, honey. I'll bet you one more LinkedIn, I will go right to the top. Disappeared. Gone. I couldn't find myself. Same exact search. So something over in California will go, hold it. This guy's stuffing. He's stuffing. And I've got friends of mine that are competitors of mine who LinkedIn has actually turned off. They will never show on the list. Never show on the list because they broke some LinkedIn rules. They broke some LinkedIn rules. Now, don't worry. You're not going to do that. These are LinkedIn experts that tried to push the envelope and they didn't listen when LinkedIn warned them. Most of the time, if you're doing things wrong on LinkedIn, and we'll talk about some of those wrongs that you could do, they're going to tell you. They're going to send you a note and go, hey, hold the phone here, Tiger. You're doing these things. Don't. And you'll get that. So don't think that all of a sudden you'll be surprised and your account will be closed down. That will not be the case. They'll always warn you for sure. Okay, so let me talk about the other things that go into the search and why these guys got ahead of them. Keywords, one of the keys. Where you put them, we're going to talk about that in your profile a little bit more. Number 2, do you have the word VoIP, especially in your skill section?
What is it?
Skills.
Yeah.
Why? Because what happens in the skill section? We get what? Skills show up, but then what do people do with your skills? Endorse. Endorsements is critical on LinkedIn. Are they silly? Yes. Are they critical? Yes. They're critical in the search engine because LinkedIn looks at those endorsements, regardless of who they come from. And they go, you've got 85 for VoIP, you got 13. That's a little bit of a more push for you. It might not, it's not the only thing. I wish it was one thing I could tell you. You're going to the top. It's all this stuff magically put together. But trust me on this skill and endorsement thing. LinkedIn is investing a lot of time and money in endorsements. Think about it. They're asking us to endorse people constantly, aren't they? So when I see LinkedIn pushing us to do something, this account in mine goes, hold it. This must be important. And I've tested it before and after a lot of endorsements for the same keyword. So what you've got to do here in the skills section, my friends, is you've got to get rid of the stupid words like leadership. Leadership. Nobody's going to look for a leadership guy in New Jersey. And yet leadership shows up on every one of our profiles until we take it away. And that's because if I land on your profile, LinkedIn goes, hey, you know Damon, you're connected. Would you like to endorse him for VoIP, telephone systems, and leadership? It throws an extra word in there. And I go, well, I suppose if he likes leadership, yes. A note comes to Damon. He's all excited. He got a bunch of endorsements. He says yes. Leadership shows up on his profile. Now the next 5 friends that land, well, leadership. Boop, boop, boop. And before you know it, you got 12 leaderships. You go, I never put the word there. You did put the word there. Your friend prompted it by his yes, and then you just went along with the game and said, sure, why not? You got to manage that section, and you got to get the words in there. So the skills are important, but the skills aren't as important because we get endorsements. You got a question about endorsements?
Yeah. I have these skills on my profile, and all of a sudden I get somebody I know, or a friend, that's endorsing me for transportation. But they know absolutely nothing about what I do in transportation. So to me, it's bogus. But what you're saying is it doesn't really matter.
To me, it's bogus too, right? I get people come up to me all the time and go, Wayne, I got this lady from my church, and she's always endorsing me for everything. And she doesn't even know what I sell. What should I do with her? I said, you know what? You give her a big hug. You give her a big hug, and you send her back to your profile to give you a whole bunch more endorsements. Because see, different than recommendations, it's just a tick mark, right? And that's what makes it silly. But computers love tick marks. A computer cannot read a glowing recommendation that you got on your profile that says you saved this client so much money it wasn't even funny. It just counts that as one recommendation. It can't go, wow, look at that. That guy deserves to be the top of the heap for VoIP. He saved this client hundreds of It doesn't have that kind of logic. It just likes tick marks. That's why they love this endorsement thing. It keeps us engaged. It keeps us moving forward. But it is totally silly. So clean out. I call that your pantry full of your keywords. That's what your skill section, instead of calling it the skill section, I call it your pantry full of your 50 best keywords that I can endorse you for and it can help you on the search engine. Okay, so work on that one. So let me just hang on one second. In general, let me give you the rest of the relevancy. The rest of the relevancy are things like this. Are we in groups together? Do we hang out virtually in a group together? So it would have helped these guys if they looked at my groups and go, well, if Wayne's in that group, and I want to try to make sure I'm higher with a lot of Waynes, I'm going to join a group I can join that Wayne's in. Because it looks at a group membership as, well, you're hanging out together too. And so a second or third might move ahead of a first when you're in 3 or 4 groups together. What else comes into play? Is your profile done? All-star status is defined by LinkedIn. All-star status. So when you're on your profile, over on the right-hand side, there's a little bubble there, and it'll say beginner, intermediate, expert, or all-star. It's just 4 choices. It used to be percentages. Remember when we had percentages? We used to have 85%. That's gone. They've replaced it with this little circle. 4 choices. You got to be all-star status. Trust me, it's not all-star. It means nothing. It's over on the right-hand side of your profile when you're in view profile, not edit profile. Okay? You got to become an all-star. It's simple. It's 50 connections. It's 5 skills. Trust me, you're probably all all-stars already. It doesn't take much. You got to have 1 educational entry. You got to have 2 jobs. It's not a big deal. To me, it's a starting point. What else is important? Are you getting recommendations? Do you have recommendations, and how many do you have? Now that makes sense to all of us, right? Guy should earn a higher spot if people love him. But what does that mean about recommendations? Got to get them. Got to work on getting them. Here's the last factor. Are you active on LinkedIn? Are you active? What is activity on LinkedIn? Are you consistently connecting with people? Number 2, are you sending status updates out to your friends through your feed? Number 3, are you involved in any group discussions? Because LinkedIn basically says, listen, you're not going to jump into this site twice a year. Right? You're going to come in here twice a year and think I'm going to put you at the top of the heap? Never happen. I'm going to let the people that are playing the game and working the tool hard, give them a chance to be higher up in the list. Now, it's all those things that magically, I can't help you with the exact formula on that because they're not going to tell us. But it's those things together. But trust me, the one that you should care about more than all of them is connections. Connections. You make the right connections with the right people. Like, let me give you a good example of a great connection. And you might not like this one. You should be connecting with recruiters in your industry. What? If I connect with recruiters, they're going to see my people. I said, well, they're going to find your people no matter if you connected a recruiter or not. Trust me, because it's what recruiters do. But who are recruiters usually connected to? Lots of people that you want to hire. So the guy says, I want to hire a bunch of engineers, Wayne. What's the best way? I said, well, I got this list here. One of them is you should connect with recruiters. I don't want to connect with recruiters. I said, they're connected to a whole bunch of engineers. And all those engineers, just by connecting a recruiter, what degree do those engineers all of a sudden become for you? No, second, right? So you have moved up all those engineers way up, right? One more slot closer to you.
Cutting out the recruiter when you are recruiting.
What do you mean?
You've got all his lists now. You can go and contact him directly.
Yeah. I mean, that's what this tool is becoming more and more, and we'll do some recruiting talk a little bit later. Okay, so let's just stop here. So that's how the search engine works, right? The relevancy ranking, and that's going to help us as we spend more time on our profiles today. Okay, let me make this a little bigger. Sorry I didn't make it big enough. A few things while we're on this. I'm going to go back to our VPs, the people that we think Damon would like to call on. Here we go. We're back to the IT managers, okay? Let's talk about this, now that you understand the search engine a little better, let's talk about the business development and when you get a nice list like this, what you should do with it. And you can tell what I'm pushing on today is I'm making the assumption that everybody in this room wants to have more customers, right? If that's not you, then some of these things you'll go, Wayne, I really don't need a lot of customers. This is for all of us that need more customers, and I was being pushed to do just that, right? So here we got these people. What are you going to do with them now? So let's look at somebody. Let's stop at a person here. Damon, pick one. Pick one that you think is interesting. One of these ones on the first page.
Two of them are my customers.
Okay, so don't give me those. Somebody else.
Tim Brand.
Tim Brand. Okay. Tim Brand, second degree, right? For me. Second degree for me. Now, here's what's cool about this. Tim Brand works where? He's a senior vice president of RCM technology. So before LinkedIn, if I wanted to meet a guy like Tim Brand, I'd call and say, can I talk to the senior vice president? Now at least I can click his profile on and check this guy out and figure out what he's got going on in his life. If you're not doing that, if you're not finding people on these lists and your very first step is not to spend time on their profiles, you're crazy. I mean, the information is just beautiful. From a business intelligence standpoint, we get to see all this stuff about this dude. I mean, we never had this before. I mean, in the old days, we would get these binders, like all the IT managers in the world, right? We pay for the subscription, right? I remember when the binders used to come, oh, baby, the new binders here, we're off and running, watch us, get calling. That's what we used to do. How old was the binder? Well, by the time they bound it and all that, you're supposed to be the IT guy. I've been gone for 6 months. Well, you just showed up on my list. Well, that's how binders work, right? And then the binders turned into floppy drives. And the bottom line is the information was old. Now, why is LinkedIn the best database we ever had for checking people out? Somebody help me with this. Why? Why? And why is it current?
People want to talk about what they're currently doing in their life.
Yeah, because who keeps it up? The person, right? The person keeps it up. And that's what makes it the best database in the world, is because everybody wants to stay all shined up.
Yeah. It's a status.
That's exactly right. Now I got to make sure I might have an internet problem here. Let's see. 'cause I'm not getting this guy's full profile for some reason. Come on, Tim. Show up, man. For some reason, it's stopping there. No, this is an internet problem. Let me go back. We'll try one more person, make sure. It's the beauty. I love teaching live because it makes so much sense because you can see what's going on. But sometimes if I run into an internet problem, I gotta work through it a little bit. So apologize for. Okay, here we'll stick with Daniel Hunt because his whole profile comes up. Okay, all right. So you've got information about these people that you never had before. Hopefully some information that will allow you not to make your first phone call or your knock on the door to be, hi, I understand you want some office furniture. Right? That you can look at the profiles and try to strategize on whether you want to connect with this guy. Now, I look at a guy like Daniel Hunt. I think I'd connect with Daniel Hunt in a second. There's something on his profile that tells me he's going to probably be very apt to take my connection request, even though he doesn't know me. Anybody know what it is? 500 plus connections. Okay? And if I want to know how many connections he really has, we now can check that out. If you click on the view the recent activity, he's got 551. This is also where we would see his feed. If I wanted to see what he was talking about, it would show up there. So I know he's a 551 connection guy. All that tells me is what? What about him? He likes LinkedIn, right? If you land on somebody's profile and it says 14 connections, guess what? He forgot his password. He had no idea how to log in. Now, the information on his profile still might be great for you, right? But don't use LinkedIn to connect with this dude. He can't. Use the telephone. Use whatever other way. You at least got good information that you never had, but it's probably not the right way to get a hold of him. Because he's, this guy is probably a no-brainer. Now, he's only a no-brainer, though, if I use the right invitation. And I don't know what the exact right invitation is, but I know what the wrong invitation is. You know what that is? I'd like you to join my network on LinkedIn. The standard invitation, that is the wrong invitation, for sure. Now, it's okay with your college friends? Send them that, who cares? But when you're prospecting, and this guy's maybe a guy you'd like to have a cup of coffee with or a phone call, don't blow it. I'd like you to join my network on LinkedIn. To me, it's totally disrespectful. I wish LinkedIn would actually take the words out so it forced us to say hi. I see, right? I mean, instead they got the stupid thing there. So what you have to do to avoid that, and I hope you're all going to agree to do this after today, is you never invite people anywhere except for their own profile.
Because if you connect through some of the things.
Oh, even the page before this. The page before this where he was on the list, the connect button was on the right. You know what will happen if you hit that button? I'd like you to join my network on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has built in some crazy things, I think. And this is the only safe haven that hitting this button should let you spend 300 characters. You only get, hit the connect button from his profile, right? Now, if you're not on the app, are you? You can't be on the app.
That's what I was about to ask.
Apps are trouble. The app, not for connecting. You can do what you want with the app, but don't connect with people because you don't get a chance for a custom invitation. So what you got to do is you got to take a deep breath, get your list, take a deep breath, and do it professionally. And professionally means you're going to have to go to the computer. Now, on the iPad, I usually just use the site. I go around the app. Okay.
I didn't go through an app. I'm on the
Okay.
site right now.
Then what if you hit the connect button? It might not even let you connect from that page. I don't know.
Well, I'm already connected.
No,
Okay.
What he's looking for is where's the recent activity that you clicked on to get here.
Oh, that probably doesn't show up on the app. It's right there?
It's not an app.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things the app doesn't let you do. Or even on the iPad.
It's not an app.
I know.
It's a Surface, and I'm on the.
There will be some quirky things when you're getting off your regular laptop. It's just, and here's the other thing. If you ever have trouble with LinkedIn and it just doesn't make sense, do a different browser. Different browsers sometimes fix a whole bunch. I get so many emails all week. This used to work yesterday. I said, try Firefox. Boom. You're right, it was Firefox, right? It's just, I don't know. I'm not a computer guy, but yes, sir.
It's just a right click.
Or,
How you got that video pop up?
That was a little arrow right next to it. It wasn't even a click.
Gotcha.
It wasn't even an arrow.
And if you use the app, can you just, maybe customize or soften that message, that default message that goes out? Will it affect the actual push from the app?
The app usually just has a check mark, no box. No box like this.
Settings has.
Okay? I wish they get to the time when maybe we have our own custom settings, although that's not right either. What's right is this. You got to tell this dude why he should care, right? I mean, what we can't do is what everybody wants to do is they want the button. Give me the one button, Wayne. I got busy today. It's an opportunity to network and nurture relationships and get to know people. It's not the button. It's about bringing people close to you so we can nurture a relationship. So hopefully you're going to be on a list someday that they're going to call you because they see your face, right? It just doesn't happen by the button. I'm sorry about that. Especially people that are older like me, it starts to smell like advertising this. Oh, there's just got to be one little button. It smells like advertising, right? Wait, no, it's not. It's building a relationship and continually communicating and sharing, and someday they'll go, you're always on there. You seem so smart. We should talk. It might happen just like that, right? Okay, so what do you say? You got 300 characters. You know what the best thing you can say is? This guy's a second degree to me, which means what?
You know somebody.
I know somebody, but also who does he know? Same person, right? We have somebody in common. You know the easiest thing to put in your 300 characters? Hi, Joe Smith suggested we connect and have a cup of coffee. He thought I might be able to help you.
Does it tell you who the person is that you both know?
Yeah, right from the profile. Right on his profile, it shows what people you have in common. You call one of your friends and say, listen, you know this dude? Yes. If they say no, hang the phone up. If they say yes, I know this guy. Great. I know you're busy. I'd love to have a cup of coffee with the three of us, but life's too busy for that. Can I use your name in the connection request? And your friend will say, sure. I feel actually bad I didn't introduce you to them in the first place. Tell them I sent you. And it'll usually get you the connection every time because it's a friend. But you always got to ask a friend. Don't try to cut corners. People try to cut corners with everything. Use people's names without asking. That stinks. I mean, to me, that's just yuck. Right? That's not what it's for. It's a tool to still do the things we know how to do professionally, but have more information than we ever had, and maybe do it more efficiently. Like doing this during the football game. I mean, how cool is this? We can connect with people during the football game, right? I mean, another tool you could use to try to get a hold of this guy is you can use an introduction. So you have a chance to actually send an introduction through this guy. If you're connected, get introduced. Anybody ever use the introductions? Okay, the introduction feature is just a way for you to say, I'm not going to connect with this guy, but I want you to help move along a message. See the subtle difference? One was, I'm going to go right at you, but I'm going to use my friend's name because I'm hoping to get a connection. Connections are the gas in the tank, right? But sometimes you might step back and go, you know what? I'm just going to try the introduction. And what the introduction says is, get rid of all their standard. Cut that out and say, introduction to Daniel Hunt. Down in this box, you should say, hi, Michael. Thanks for agreeing to introduce me to Michael Hunt. Hi, Michael Hunt. Daniel suggested we meet each other. I've got these things I'd love to talk to you about. Maybe we have time for a cup of coffee. I'm going to be in your neighborhood next week. Something like that, right? And don't freeze up about the message because we're professionals. Just say what you'd say. It's so funny. I get a list and go, what are you going to say? What do you mean? You've been selling for a lifetime. You know what to say to somebody like him when a friend says, here, this is my friend. Now, think about the last two features I gave you, introduction and connecting with a professional message. I asked you the question about your clients, didn't I? I asked you a question. Are you connected to your clients 100% without fail? How good is the connection request or this thing if in between you and a future client is an existing client? Especially when you talk to your friend, hey Michael, thanks for agreeing to do this thing on LinkedIn for me, to Daniel. You're going to get a message from me the minute I hit the button. By the way, that's what happens. Hit the introduction button. It doesn't go right to Daniel. It goes to Michael. It sits in Michael's inbox until he does something with it, but you're helping him. You're saying, Michael, will you tell Daniel how long you've been using us for your phone service? Will you do that for me? Because you're his friend, I'm not. And if he writes that, because he gets a chance to put a little message in before it goes to his buddy, right? Oh, these guys are great. So if you help your client, and the client is the person in between you and the future client, that's a laydown. I was teaching this class to a room full of CPAs. Partners as a partner-manager retreat, 150 CPAs, right? Now, they're supposed to do business development. They're partners and managers. But think about the personalities, right? I'm a CPA. I'm a little odd that way. But most CPAs, when it comes to networking, right? They don't want to network, but they know they're supposed to develop business because there's partners and managers, right? So I'm in this room and I said, raise your hand if you're connected to every one of your clients. 10 people out of 150. That's all. And I said, okay, now raise your hand. If the easiest business for you to close is a referral from an existing client. 2 hands. There were 300 hands raised, first, right? And I said, so here, I know I gave you a lot of stuff to do today. Go home today. Connect with every client you have without fail. And then see who they know. And trust me, for the next year, you'll be going to baseball games and golf outings and cups of coffee till the cows come home. But it'll be the best cup of coffee you ever had because your client's sitting there going, I can't believe you're not using these guys. They save me so much money, right? That's how life can get so easy when it's all about referrals. And by the end of this class, I'm going to show you what I call the LinkedIn referral machine. And if I don't, be sure during Q&A, somebody says, Wayne, you're going to show us the LinkedIn referral machine. It works on this premise that I just mentioned. It's sort of another one of those hidden features. Isn't it weird how LinkedIn hides all this stuff? Okay, one more thing about the list, and we're probably going to have to take a break pretty soon here because I think people are starting to need to do that. But I want to show you from the search again. From the search, oh wait, while I'm on Daniel's profile, this is a gold mine, my friends. This is a business development gold mine on the right-hand side. People also viewed. If Daniel might not be the decision maker, but he's got a lot of connections and you think he'll take your connection. But over on the right-hand side is his boss, probably will be his boss, and his boss has got 12 connections. You at least know, without even doing another search, here's Daniel, and here's the other people that work in that same department at that place. I would then make a connection request to Daniel, make it professional. He will probably connect, and then what happens for you with all the other people in the IT department at that company once the one guy with this guy with 500 plus connections says yes to you? What happens to all the other employees in that department? What would they be to you? Seconds. They'll be seconds for sure. Why? Why are we sure of that? Because they connect with their coworkers. So what you got yourself, my friends, is this: a mole. You have yourself a mole. You got your first person in the department, right? You got the first cubicle. And then all the other cubicles just got closer to you. And maybe the boss, right? And once somebody's a second degree, you can look at their full profile even if you're on the free account. See, that's what you got to start to understand. On a free account, you can only look at full profiles at the first degree and the second degree. If you want to pay money or understand a workaround, which I know how to do one of those too, I'll show you. But in general, third degree profiles come up on the free account as what? First name, last initial, the top box shows up, and then none of this juicy stuff down here. It says, want to upgrade? And LinkedIn did that about 3 years ago when they went public. The month before they went public, they did this. They took away third degrees because they said, hey, we can get a pop in our stock price just by doing this one little thing, and it worked. Okay? But to me, if you work on getting some moles in organizations, the other people will move close enough that they're second degree, and now you can look at the profile where he went to school and the nonprofits he cares about and all the things so that you can maybe craft the right invitation to the boss. Right? Now, lots of bosses might not want to connect. You may be in that room, right? That may be you. It's understandable. Presidents and CEOs, they won't be bothered by a lot of sales guys. So don't get all mad when that doesn't happen. It's fine. It's their connection request. It's okay. Their strategy might not be to connect to every sales guy in the world. I get that as the owner of a company, right? Okay. One more thing about the search that you probably have missed that I think you're going to love is saving your searches. Over here on the right-hand side. So let's say this was a really good list for Damon and Vincent. Right there. Save search. You click Save Search, and then you tell LinkedIn, hey, I love this list. It's a goodie. Will you, every week, will you tell me when there's a new person on that list? Home run. That's a 24/7 virtual assistant. It's free. Now, what you've got to do, though, is you got to get better at Boolean search logic so the list really is great, right? And when you finally get the right words down, you go, that's the list. I'm saving that baby. Because I'm pretty busy, but LinkedIn won't let somebody sneak onto that list without me getting an email on Friday going, here's a new person, here's their name, they meet your search criteria, boom, right?
So you can monitor that department and get any new additions.
By saving the search. Now let me tell you a few more stories about searching before we break. I want you to think outside of just customers for the moment. And we're going to talk about looking for employees in the second half. But I want you to think about some other things. Well, let's do a little recruiting one right now while I'm on the screen. So my partner came up to me about 2.5 years into my LinkedIn experience. He said, we're going to finally hire a new employee, an interior designer. I said, gosh, thank God. Firing was the worst, hiring's the most fun, right? Love to tell our stories and bring people in. Oh, we're getting bigger, and everybody gets excited, right? Just everybody gets pumped up when we're bringing new employees in. He said, we need a new interior designer. He said, I'll just run the ad at MilwaukeeJobs.com. That's what we've always did. It's $500 for the month and get a bunch of, I said, Tim, hang on. Give me 45 minutes. Go to your room. So I sent him back to his office. It was 25 minutes later. I called him back into my office, and here's what I did. In the keyword, I wrote the word office furniture with quotes around it. In the title, I put interior design. Company name, guess what I put? All 11 of my competitors with capital O, capital R in between. I got a list of every interior designer that works at every one of my competitors in town. It was like I threw an interior designer party, and they all showed up. And I said, Tim, get in here. And we went through the people. I mean, think. What's that? So you just do it like a search. You just got to think about what title do the people have. And you might need ORs because, I'm not a designer, I'm this or whatever. But then on the company box, you put the name of your competitors, capital O, capital R, another one, capital O, It's same with sales guys. Sales guys, you should go back and ask your sales guys if they got all this set up in a saved search with all their target companies with the or in between. Life got simpler with the same. But let's go back to the designers. We picked off the 15 best designers on this list. Tim got on the phone and looked for who knew who, and he used, he used LinkedIn a little bit, but he used the phone and email and it. He knew most of the people because he's in the industry. And then he just started contacting him. He had 5 ladies in by Friday, and he had 2 of them hired the next week. Done. Would have been ads and maybe and 3 of them were not looking for jobs. They were not laid off in the downturn. I found my controller that replaced me. On the recruiting side, my friends, we have to start learning how to be like a recruiter, right? Because we got a database now. We never had a database before. Recruiters always had it over us because they would go to engineering conferences and they get all the cards from all the engineers. They put them in their database, and ooh, that's why I get 25% because I work so hard at it. That's what they, because they work so hard at networking with engineers, you should pay them 25%. Well, now they're using the same database you have complete access to because everybody's got a profile. And I'm going to close with this before the break. The beauty of this thing is because we all keep it up, isn't it? But I'm telling you, when I show you this feature, use business owners like this. I teach tech groups, Vistage groups, EO groups, YPO groups. When I show this feature, there's some of you in this room, I can see your faces. You're white right now. You're completely white. And you're going like, oh my God. You mean he could sit there and put my company name down and go through all my people like he's walking cubicle to cubicle? Yeah, I can do that. And what you're dying to ask me is this, Wayne, is there like one little button, but back in that setting, you talk about settings, that I can have it so nobody can look at my people? I need that button bad. You can't have that button. It doesn't exist. It's a new world. And you go, well, then fine. They just can't do LinkedIn. I'll show them. Talk to an attorney about that. No attorney I've ever met says, you can, come on board. No LinkedIn ever. And you're going to go home with them and make sure they don't. It's just the new world. So the point is this. It's scary, yes. But because this database is so darn good, that's why it's so darn good for you too, right? So if you sit in a corner and think that you're not going to be proactive and use these tools, and then that will keep people from going after your people, it won't. It won't stop it a little, one iota. So we all have to get offensive and realize this tool exists and it's just the new world. And we don't have to like this world. And some people even ask me this question, Wayne, but we have an agreement in our town. That's the furniture guys. We don't steal each other's people. It's just, we've had this agreement for years. And I said, hold it. And then what do you? Then you turn around and hire a recruiter, don't you? And when the guy goes after, oh, I told that recruiter never go against your people. Yeah, I can't believe he did that. But she, by the way, she's really good. She's really good, right? Those agreements they're no good anymore. It's just the way it is because of the database and because we can go do this thing. So we're going to summarize where we're at and just take a short break. How long? 10 minutes? Can we do it in 10? Yep. Okay, so summarize where we've been. So here's where we are because there was a lot coming at you. We showed you how the search engine worked, right? Search engine works off of relevancy. We're going to talk more about keywords in the second half as we talk about your profiles. But the search engine works off relevancy. The number one factor in relevancy is, are you connected to the right people that are searching for you, right? The rest of it is sort of magical and it's groups and all kinds of other activity and that kind of thing. We also learned how to use the search engine, but in order to do the search engine well, we got to be really good at Boolean search logic. We got to figure out the words that people use to describe themselves in their profiles. We also learn how to save searches. Once you get a nice list, save your searches. It's a home run. And we also learned how to look at people also viewed. And we also learned how to get ourselves a mole. And lastly, we learned how to not send the wrong invitation, right? I'd like you to join. We're going to do this professionally, and we're going to write it so that the person on the other side who doesn't know you goes, that makes sense. I like to connect with him. Makes sense. I'd like to learn from them. I've heard good things about their company, right? But remember, the thing they'll do before they ever say yes or no to your connection request is they'll look at your what? Profile. So in the second half, we're going to talk about your profile because some of your profiles are not ready for visitors. Your store is not cleaned up enough, and I wouldn't even want you reaching out to these strangers because when they visit your store, they'll go, what? That's it? My friend said he was so much better than that. So your stores aren't ready. You got to get your stores ready before you start doing it, reach out. But the reach out can be very powerful when your store is all cleaned up and ready to go. So you go to settings. So what we're trying to do now is we're trying to hide the fact that you were stalking them.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Hide the fact.
The stalker, this is your stalker setting. So I'm in settings. You get to settings by going here. So settings is always up by your picture. Slide down to settings. Got to put your password in.
Do you have to be an edit profile first?
No.
What's that?
And then here, select what others see when you viewed their profile. Okay, it's called select what others see when you viewed their profile, right here. So over here, there's 4 tabs of settings. It's on the first tab. It's this one. And what you'll do is you'll change it down to here to anonymous.
Yeah, I don't.
If you can't, if you're having trouble on a smaller unit, I don't know what to say except try it on your computer. Now, let's talk about this setting a bit. The recommended setting for this is the top one. I hope you know why. Top one is your picture, your great headline, which many of you don't have great headlines yet, but you should, because this is one of the reasons you want a great headline. You don't just want to put sales manager at ABC company. That's not very descriptive. I don't know what the heck ABC company does, right? We're going to show you how to good headlines and stuff a little bit when we move into the second half. But when you do your headline right, top setting is the right one, right? Because you want to be known. It's a branding spot, right? Boom, I'm here. Check me out. But when you're looking at your competitors, which I do at least once a month, I change it to anonymous for about an hour or a month. Now here's what you should know about changing that setting. If you're on the free account, the minute you change it down to the bottom one, anonymous, it's going to clear out the people that looked at your profile and your list will be 0. Let me tell you that again. So on the free account, you get to see the last 5 people that looked at you, right? That list will clear out completely, and you'll go back in there and go, where did they go? It's just a penalty LinkedIn's going to give you for being on the free account and thinking you want to go stalking anonymously and yet you want to see your people. Now, if you're on a paid account, no problem. If you're on a paid account, LinkedIn does not clear the list out. So if you're on a free account and you want to go stalking and don't want people to know, leaving little breadcrumbs of who you are, then go look at your list, make sure there's not somebody interesting there, because then the minute you set to anonymous, it'll go away. Okay?
When that happens, does that also put you down the list when it comes to a search on the page you're on? Because it doesn't show people we're looking at?
I don't know that that moves your ranking at all. I have not heard that that hurts your search ranking. That's what you're saying. I don't think that'll hurt. I don't think that'll be the case. Okay, while we're on this feature, who's viewed your profile? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this feature because we got to anyway. So this ties into this feature called Who's Viewed Your Profile, which if you were looking at the slides at the beginning of this, before I started, this is the top rated feature on LinkedIn. Who's viewed your profile? And a little background on that. So I do a survey. All the people on my mailing list, by the way, you have a sign-up sheet for my mailing list. I suggest you give that to me. And also have a chance to get my ebook called 10 Mistakes Companies Are Making on LinkedIn. It's the last page in your handouts. Be sure to give that to me. Well, once a year, I survey the people on my list and say, what are your favorite features? How much time are you spending? Are you a paid member? Aren't you? And then I share the information back to the members because everybody wants to know what everybody else is doing, right? Learn something about, hey, what is everybody else doing? Well, the first 3 years I did my survey, I'm going to be my 6th year in survey. First 3 years, the top rated feature was advanced people searching, the thing we did at the beginning with the IT and the VoIP. They loved the fact that we could do that search. Year 1, year 2, year 3. Year 4, this baby pops as the top feature, passes the advanced people searching out. And I remember looking at my wife, who, by the way, she is my LinkedIn expert and helps me with all my writing and all. She knows more about LinkedIn than anybody who's not on LinkedIn. She's not on LinkedIn, right? So I said to her, I said, honey, look at this. The top feature is a new one this year, and it's Who's Viewed Your Profile, and I don't even use it. She said, like most things, she says, go to your room. Go to your room and figure out how people are using it. So on your weekly tip this week, you can tell people how to use it. It sounds like you're a little bit lost and your competitors are ahead of you. She's tough, right? So that week, I happened to be speaking at an event, and I sat next to a guy having a beer afterward, and I said, so what's your favorite feature? And he said, oh, that's easy, Wayne. It's Who's Viewed Your Profile. I said, man, I'm glad I'm sitting next to you, because I don't know what to do with the stupid thing. He said, oh, that's the best feature bar none. And this was a sales conference, right? And I said, so what do you do with it? He said, well, I click it on like that. He said, you ever do that? I said, well, yeah, I'll get to the list. Good. And at that time, I was a free member, so I only saw 5, right? He said, what do you do then if somebody's on this list and they look interesting to you? Because remember, not everybody's interesting to you on this list, right? You're interesting to them for some reason, but they're not all interested in you. He said, so what do you do when somebody looks good? I said, I'll look at their profile. I said, good, that's what you should do next. He said, then what? Then I said, well, then I look at their profile. He said, let's say you look at their profile then, and they really look good. I mean, they're just perfect, right? Everything you read, it's a person you should meet. He said, then what do you do? I said, nothing. He said, how come? I said, I don't know. It's sort of creepy. It's sort of creepy, and I don't know, what would you even say to him? And he said, well, let me tell you what I do. And get this, you guys will love this because you're from New Jersey. I use this story all the time. He was from New Jersey. And I said, so what do you do? He said, Wayne, this baby's making me money. Here's what I do. I send him a message through LinkedIn, either a connection request if I'm not connected or a message if I'm already connected. I don't stop there, Wayne. I find their phone number. I call them up. I leave a voicemail. He said, what else? I said, I send them an email. I try to find their email address. He said, Wayne, if I could find their address, I'd be on their doorstep. I said, man, you guys are something from New Jersey. And he said, you know what? It's funny you say that. That's why we like to compete against you guys in the Midwest. You think everything's too aggressive over in the Midwest, right? I mean, because you guys will go after it. I mean, and he said, it's not that aggressive. He said, Here's what it is, Wayne. Maybe you'll get it now when I tell you the story. It's like somebody walked into your store and looked around and nobody shook their hand, right? And they walk right back out to the next door of VoIP, right? Number 2 on the list. Walked in and somebody went over and said, "Hi, thanks for visiting. Any questions I can answer for you?" He said, "That's basically what I say." I said, "So what do you say?" He said, "I say, I see you looked at my profile. I looked at yours." That's what he says. And then he says, "You know, I help companies like yours all the time. Did you have any questions for me? I'm going to be in your neighborhood next week. You want to connect?" He said, depends on the profile what I say, but I always say I saw you looked at me." He said, "It's the truth." He said, "I always tell the truth." He said, "That's this." I said, "Now I know why this is the #1 rated feature." And this was the feature, my friends, was the reason I finally spent money with LinkedIn. Because I get about 50 views a day, right? And at 5, if the list is 5, my list clears out 10 times a day. And I had my lovely wife trained on a day like today, so 50 views, right? I had her trained every 2 hours to go on my LinkedIn, look at the list of 5, write down all the presidents and the CEOs and the vice presidents of sales so that on the weekend I could contact these people. Because it would be gone by the time I got home from work, right? And I'll never forget it. One day I walked up to her, I said, "Honey, now you know it's a busy day today. I'm not going to get home till 8:30. And she said, I know what you want me to do. I got to do that little stupid thing on your LinkedIn thing." One day I walked up and she says, "I'm done." I said, "What do you mean you're done?" "I'm not doing that stupid thing anymore." I said, "What stupid thing?" "That thing with that who's with your profile thing. I'm sick and tired of my Siri telling me every 2 hours, go look at Wayne who's with your profile. And I got to write all these things." She said, "I heard for $20 a month you could go look at the last 90 days. Here's your $20. She handed me a $20 bill and said, "Go get them. I'm done with this crap." And she was right. I mean, because now when you pay, catch this. This is new. When you pay, not only do you get this nice list for 90 days, you can filter these people by business owners only, or people who work at a certain company only. I mean, that's good stuff. I mean, you think about, if you haven't looked at this list for 3-4 months, or a couple months, you can sit down and go, "Today my business development day is just look at who looked at my profile and contact these people. I haven't contacted them." And step back a second. Let's say you send a connection request with somebody and you say just that thing to them, right? "I saw you looked at my profile, and they're not a client of yours, but they're the perfect target for you, and they don't connect with you. So what?" Right? So what? That's their strategy, right? Their strategy might be like many CFOs I know. "Oh, no. I don't become a CFO. No way." But what happened with you sending that message was at least you got in front of them, didn't you? I had a guy the other day. I'm teaching a series of consulting, 6-month consulting, 1 hour a month for the sales team across the country. And we were on our second class, and I gave him homework from the first class. And I said, "Anybody have any stories to tell me about what you learned the last month?" He said, "Wayne, get this one. I've been calling this same guy 4 times a year for 4 years. 16 phone calls in his voicemail, and he's never returned them." And then I thought, what the heck? I'm going to try LinkedIn. I'm going to send him a connection request, and I'll say it nicely. The guy connects with me, and right in his response back to me, he says, I'd like to meet with you this Thursday. He said, "Why?" I said, "I don't know. I have no idea." I said, "Maybe you finally wore him down, or I'm not sure. All I know is maybe he likes LinkedIn better. Maybe to him it just seems a little more professional." So everybody's going to use a different tool to communicate these days. And trust me on this one. When somebody's younger, if you're trying to get a hold of a 30-something or a 20-something, and you're going to leave voicemails, forget it. They don't even know you can use the telephone to talk to people, right? But if you text them, boom. So we got to be a little smarter, and we can't sit in the corner and go, "If she doesn't call me back, she only talks to her dad on the phone. She might answer your text. She might answer your LinkedIn. Who knows, right?" The point is, we all have preferred methods of communication, and this is just one of them. Let me tell you one more story about that. I should have told you this one when I told you about the mistake of using the standard invite, right? So the same consulting client on a monthly basis, I said, any lessons that we can all learn from? He said, Wayne, you beat us up hard about the standard invite. We heard that loud and clear. You're supposed to customize it. She said, but you know what? I got a list of presidents of insurance companies. That's what she calls on. And I hit the connect button from the list. It went out, I'd like you to join my network. And she said, boy, I felt like you were on my shoulder yelling at me like, you shouldn't have done that. She said, but I didn't know how, I missed it. And I said, so how did you recover? She said, I recovered, great. I said, what'd you do? She said, I used one of my in-mails and I sent him a note. She said, right away, even before he accepted. I said, what'd your note say? It said, you know what, I'm really sorry. That's not the way I wanted to begin a relationship. I wanted to tell you why I wanted to connect with you. Please accept my apology. And she put her name. So get this. 2 days later, she gets a note back from this guy through LinkedIn. Says, you didn't have to apologize. I mean, that was nice of you to do that. Want to meet this Thursday? She said, I got a meeting with this guy because I goofed up. And so I said, you know what? I think there's a strategy there. Right? There could be a little strategy there. Because she showed her humanness, right? Like, hey, it wasn't a way to begin a relationship with that stupid thing. And it got the guy's attention. Yeah. Yeah, so the deal is this. You know the stalker setting now, right? I showed you. 1, 2, or 3. Totally anonymous. Someone at. Full disclosure. No paid account in the world will ever let you see that person. And you know what? That's the right thing, because when we want to stalk, we don't want to be known. You want me, if you pay more money, you get to see me? It's funny how we always want both sides of everything, right? I don't want to look at me, but I want to look at you. Come on. Somewhere we got to understand it. The rule is a rule. Respect the fact that there is that rule, because when I stalk, I don't want anybody to pay their way to see me. So that's it. So you can't get out of that. It's the way it is. Okay, who's viewed your profile? Great feature. It's going to make you money. Since I listened to that guy in New Jersey, 5 clients. I'm keeping track of them. 5 clients, because I have taken the step forward when somebody walks into my store and say, hey, nice to see you here. I mean, nobody's life is so boring that they're looking at random LinkedIn profiles, right? I mean, if somebody's on your profile, it means something's going on. And think about the other social media sites. Can you do this on Facebook? No. Can you do this on Twitter? No. Maybe it's why it's the top-rated feature, because it's really sort of cool, right? It's really because somebody took a first step. So trust me on this one, my friends. You get aggressive, maybe not as aggressive as my New Jersey friend sitting on a guy's doorstep, but at least use LinkedIn to get a hold of the people, and realizing that even if they don't connect, you've at least put your name in front of them. And maybe the next time you drop the voicemail in, they'll go, where did I hear of this guy before? Oh, he was also that LinkedIn guy. Maybe I should talk to him. Who knows? There was a question way in the back. Yes, sir. What was it again? Oh, yeah, we did that. I'll come up afterward. I'll show you again. Okay, so any other questions coming out of the break? And if they're like that, I'll show you at the end. But yes, sir.
If you remove somebody from your company's employee, how to make them not affiliated with the
Oh,
company
okay.
page or something like
Yeah, so somebody leaves. It starts with this. It starts with you should have a social media policy. And that policy should say, when you don't work here, all of your social media accounts will be updated so that your job here becomes a past job. If you do that, then the first thing you'll do is send out the letter and say, you signed this, you didn't move it, you need to change it. Now, if that doesn't work, you can contact LinkedIn through the Help Center. The Help Center, and in the Help Center, you can send them a note and say, hey, this person hasn't worked here for 6 months. Tell them you tried to get a hold of her, and then say, can you help me? And they'll do that. Now, they won't do it in 10 minutes. Trust me, LinkedIn's customer service is anti-customer service. It's the way it is. But they will get to it as long as they open up a job ticket. Yes, sir.
What about if you've given someone a recommendation and they've just typed in?
So you can delete any recommendations that you give.
How do you do that?
And I'm trying to stay away from all the clicking because I got so many other strategic things to show you guys. But you can do it for sure. Yes, ma'am.
So if you hide your first connection so people can't see it, will that affect where you come up on the list when
I don't think so. I've never seen anything that says that will affect your ranking.
Okay, and it won't say, will it not tell the person who's searching?
No, it will tell you.
That you have this many connections? Can you still see your shared connections?
You can see shared connections.
Okay, but you just can't search through everyone.
Right. So the difference, and I'm glad you brought that up, when you hide your connections, all it stops your network from doing is sitting down on Sunday during the football game and going through them all. If you show up in a search, then it still shows you who knows who. So it's still a great tool. It just doesn't allow you to peruse and search for the right people. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Way in the back. Cool. Download connections. Okay, cool. So most people don't know you can do this. You can now download all your connections into a spreadsheet. Okay? And that's first degree connections, right? First degree. Can't do any with seconds and thirds. Couple of ways to do that. Probably the best way is to go into your settings. Back into settings. Into account. Settings, and then the account tab, not the pro. These all click, okay? Account. Request an archive of your data. And you'll get a zip file from LinkedIn. They say 72 hours, but I got both of mine in less than 24 hours. And you'll get all kinds of information, lots of spreadsheets about how many times you shared or liked, what you shared and liked, the pictures you've uploaded. It'll send you files of every time you posted a status update. Okay, so it's account. And you'll get this spreadsheet. Let's talk about the most important thing that's in that list is your connections, right? You're going to get these 5 bits of information dropped into a spreadsheet. First name, last name, current company, current title, email. Those 5 bits of information. You will not get any tags if you are using LinkedIn tags. You won't get anything other than those 5 things. But trust me, what's the one we want? Email address, right? We want that email address. So you should go in there and download from time to time. And now you got this database, now you can do something with it. Now, I'm not an attorney. Okay, so hear me loud and clear on this. This is my disclaimer. I'm not telling you you can take that database, pump it into your Constant Contact, and do whatever you want with it. There's rules, there's laws. Talk to your attorney about that. I just show you can do it. Now, here's a methodology that attorneys have said are okay. Ready? Download your connections. As a matter of fact, what you ought to do, if you own the company, try to have all your sales guys download their connections. That's the best thing you can do. Put them into a database on your email service. Send out a message to those people and say, hi, you are a LinkedIn connection of one of our people or me or whatever, right? We have a company newsletter that I think you're going to find very useful. Let me know if you don't want it. And then the attorney says, keep that documentation that 4 people opted out. And then you'll usually be able to be just good to go with all the rest of those, but I'm not going to be in court with you.
Is there the opposite? Is there a quick and easy way to download all your contacts or customers? Because they're going to have second and third degree to get those people as well into LinkedIn?
From the search engine, you can't do a download. So like that search I did for all those IT people, you can't download that list. Oh, hold it. That way? Yeah, so let's talk about that. You can take any database you want. Gmail, Yahoo Mail, Outlook, Salesforce, Act. You can suck them into LinkedIn and send out a mass invitation, but don't. It's just not cool, is it? Because you won't be able to do what we talked about. Because what's going to go out is, you can do it, but it's dangerous too. You know why else it's dangerous? Here's why it's dangerous. If you send out, let's say you send out 1,000 invitations today. All it takes is a few people on that list. When the invite comes into me, I go ignore, and then it asks me, do you want to report this person as spam? And I hit spam, and then another box comes up and says, is it because you don't know them? And if I click I don't know them, that's the LinkedIn, you could be on your way to the LinkedIn penalty box. And if you ever get an email like this from LinkedIn that says, you know what? You need an email every time you invite somebody. If you get that email, they'll usually say it's because you went a little bit crazy. and they put that little speed bump in front of you so you slow down, Tiger. Because they don't want us doing these mass invitations. It's supposed to be a one-to-one networking site that we're really knowing people. So you got to be careful with that. Now, if you disregard that, if you get that email that says, slow down, Tiger, and then you do another 1,000, you're going to be going for trouble. They'll shut you down. They don't mess around with that if you don't listen to them. If you listen to them, they'll usually be fine. Yes, sir.
Can you download this without being a premium?
Without being a member?
Premium.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the download's for free.
So from a strategy perspective, if you have a prospect, right, and they're VP of IT and you want to sell them a voice over IP phone system, but you don't really know them, but you want to connect with them, and you're going to not hit the connect button automatically, you're going to go into their profile and connect, and then the radio buttons come up.
Yeah.
Friend, done business with, well,
Yeah.
what do you pick?
Okay, so we got these radio buttons, right? Colleague, classmate, right? Friend, other. Other requires an email.
Don't have their email.
Friend, I'm not friends. I don't care. And here's why I don't care anymore. You notice that doesn't come on the inbound invite anymore? It used to say, this person says you were a classmate, here's his message to connect. They don't show you the radio button identifier anymore. So I would always pick done business with.
Yeah.
I pick done business with, pick your job title, you're good to go. Because more important than the radio button, even if it showed up, is what did you say in the 300 characters? Did you explain in the 300 characters why it would be good for me? I don't care what button you push, right? I wish they had a better button like the group button even went away. So they're in the process of changing the whole invitation button thing. I don't know what it's going to look like, but yes, sir.
You're in that penalty box area. How do you get out?
You got to beg. You just got. You got to go in there and send LinkedIn a message. You got to behave for a while with whatever it is they busted you on, and then you got to send them a note back and say, how do I get rid of this email thing? It's driving me crazy. I'm really trying. I'm not doing that anymore. You don't like go to the confessional.
Scott, the only thing that's going to work for you is a new profile picture, bro.
Okay, any other questions? We'll have questions at the end, so let's hold them till the end now, can we? All right, let's get through some more of the goodies. Okay, let's talk about profiles, okay? We're going to move away from the finding part of LinkedIn, and we're going to move into profiles fairly quickly, and the reason we can go fairly quickly is because you're going to get a copy of my book. That book is your workbook for your profile. 2/3 of it is that. Screenshots, and click here, and do this, and this is the strategy of this section. It'll be like I'm sitting on your shoulder. You'll be fine. So I don't want to talk about the details of the profile, but I want you to understand some of the overall strategies about your profile. And it revolves around these two things. Keywords, stories. Keywords, stories. Keywords, stories. I don't think I have to tell you much about keywords anymore, do I? Hopefully you know now that keywords are going to be critical. We'll spend this much time on keywords. Pull this worksheet out. Everybody pull this out of the handout, okay? Get it in front of you. This will help you on your keywords. And if you'd like more of these for your company, they're sitting on my website for free on the resources page. It's PDF. Go get as many as you want. Hand them out to your people. Go get a whole bunch of copies. They're sitting there in the resource section. Okay, keywords. So the idea on this worksheet is you fill out sort of the bottom and the oh, there's no back. You got a back in yours? Oh, cool. Oh, cool. Great. So and the things that I'm asking with those fill in the blanks, it's not all inclusive. It's just to sort of get you thinking about your keywords, right? Because most of us didn't grow up on keywords and it's a strange concept. But it boils down to really this. What do people Google you for, right? You and your company, what do they Google you for? And those are your keywords, right? And then where do you put them? You put them in these sections. See these 7 bullet points here? I want you to write down an 8th one. I just figured out another good spot. Number 8, interests. Interest. And normally we think of our interest section as fishing, comma, hiking, comma, bicycling, comma, girlfriends, comma. After you're done with a few kind of personal things. And I like you to have some of those personal things there because if you ever notice, there's a button that's says in common with. And when you're on a profile with somebody, when you're on with somebody's profile and you're connected, or even if first, it'll have this button that says, you're both fishermen. And it picks up the fishing in the interest with that guy's fishing and shows, oh, you're both fishermen. That in common with button that shows up when you're viewing somebody else's profile, I can tell you, that baby has helped me so much on a phone call. When I'm sitting there, I got your profile up, and one was scuba diving. This guy was in Florida. They were going to get a LinkedIn speaker, and the button says we're both scuba divers. So I'm going, this guy, we're going to talk some scuba diving, not just LinkedIn speaking, right? Because he's going to talk to a lot of LinkedIn speakers today. I want to stand out. And we did. We talked about scuba diving, and sure enough, I got the gig. Maybe not because of that, but maybe because we sort of became friends 45 minutes later. So you want a few of those. What's that? You can search that.
IT,
Yeah.
voice over IP fisherman?
You can click fisherman, and it'll show you all the fishermen on LinkedIn. Or fishing. It's got to be fishing. You put fishermen, it won't find close to, right? So what I want you to do on interest is have 5 or 6 sort of personal things, but then after that I want you to put voice over IP. And then I want you to put phone systems. Always with a comma. The comma delineates the keyword. Okay, now, where else do we put these words? These other 7 bullet points. But 3 bullet points are a home run, my friends. What are they? Look at those bullet points and somebody shout out the 3 spots that you better not miss. Headline is 1. What else? Not specialties. Read it.
Recommendation?
No. Read it. What?
Oh,
This the remedial group or something?
Experience job titles.
Yeah, experience job. So it's headline, experience job titles, and our all-important skills that we already talked about, right? So here, headlines right there. Most of you know what shows up in your headline right now? Your title. Your title and your company name. LinkedIn basically puts it there because they don't want you embarrassing yourself with no title. So LinkedIn goes, until you wake up and realize this is the best 120 characters that could exist on your profile, it is called your headline after all. I'm going to shove that up there till you wake up and put your best words up there. You can see that's descriptive of me, and it's my words, isn't it? When I was in Office Furniture, let me tell you what I did there, so it might help you a little bit. My headline used to say, it said, President and Owner, M&M Office Interiors, where we give you the space you want and the experience you deserve, / LinkedIn Expert, because I wanted to get LinkedIn Expert in somewhere. You know what the problem with that? That was my tagline, the space you want and the experience you deserve. I love my tagline. I spent 15 grand to get that stupid thing. But you know what the problem with us? Didn't have the word office furniture in it. Right? And as groovy and cool as I want office furniture to sound, it's a cubicle. I'd have been better off putting cubicles and chairs. Right? So you've got to work through that. That's why that's one of the reasons these guys were beating you. Because in job titles, they had VoIP. So what you want to do, your job title's what, Damon?
It was phone system expert.
Okay, phone system expert, that's good, phone system's still good. But then in parentheses, I'd say specializing in voice over IP, comma, phone systems, comma. So what you'll do is you'll have your regular old title in your title section, but then in parentheses you could say specializing in or helping customers with this, comma, this, comma, this, comma, right? So you can use the title field past what we think is a title. That's going to help you in a search engine, trust me.
Separating different sections.
The pipe key. It's called the pipe key.
Okay.
I like the pipe key.
Use the slash or comma won't screw you up if you do that.
It won't screw you up.
It looks a lot more professional. So
See, the pipe key is for people that know what they're doing. So if you want to look, so the good news is that when you do things like change the pipe key, it shows that you're sort of in the game, the LinkedIn game at least. Okay.
How do you get the pipe key?
Pipe key should be on your keyboard above one of the slashes. It's just a shift. Okay, so here, keywords. Everybody, you're all suffering from keyword deficiency. Trust me. This is going to help you get to the top. Now, if you do this well and you still only have 45 connections, guess what? Nothing. Because you only got 45 connections. First degree, and you probably only got 320 second degree, and you probably only got 2,000 at the third degree that could even find you. Remember, the most important part of the search algorithm for relevancy is the relationship I have with you. You need more relationships, and on LinkedIn, that's a connection. Okay? But this will help you at least get on the list, and the more times you put your word, the better, and the more you're endorsed and all that kind of stuff. By the way, this is also something that I gave away free from my weekly tips. So sign up for my tips, and you'll start getting this stuff every Sunday from me, no charge.
Is that 500 the magic number?
500?
Or is that 500?
Oh, 500 connections? I think it's, at this point, it's sort of a level of proficiency, or at least shows you're a networker, right? That's all it really does. Okay, few other things. Now, so that's the keyword part of the LinkedIn thing on story, on their profile. Let's talk about story a little bit. Story is this. When you start inviting people that you don't know, proactively, right? They're going to check your store out, right? And if you don't have the stories there, like you guys, you need more help on stories. I mean, you guys do a good job. Your website says some of those things. Stories are where people are going to go, you know what? I will contact him. He contacted me to connect. Because here's the problem we got. How do people shop these days? How do they shop? Other than before online, we go to 12 car dealerships and we try a bunch of cars and we buy a car. Or they used to go office furniture, they call it the office furniture dealers, and we'd all walk into the meeting with all our brochures and our stuff, you know, binders of stuff and all that, and we'd flop them on the desk, and they'd go through all these binders, and then maybe they'll call 3 of them for pricing, and then they'll buy from somebody. So the journey was 10 office furniture dealers to 3 to 1. Now, in this new world of social selling, and not just LinkedIn I'm speaking of now, speaking of all the social tools, Office Furniture, New Jersey. And they're going to go to Yelp, and they're going to go to Better Business Bureau, and they're going to look at recommendations, look at profiles, look at websites, look at all those things to decide which 10 office furniture dealers get a meeting. That's what's happening. Aren't we all doing that? So the bottom line is, just the same way you shop for a Camry, they're shopping for us. And if your profile's not good, you're going to be in those 7 companies who don't get this or don't get the email. And you're going to wonder, you're going to walk into your office someday and you're going to go by somebody, another cubicle, and you're going to go, hey, might be a stupid question. And you're going to point to the telephone. And you're going to go, does yours work? I mean, I checked the plug the other day. I'm still plugged. Because nobody's calling because they've done this to get rid of 7 vendors. The research says in this world we're living in now, especially the B2B space, sales guys used to get involved 30% of the way in the process. So we could meet a customer and we got 70% of the way to meet them and find out about their kids and show them our products and take them to customers and all that cool stuff. A long time to get to know them and all that. Now you know what's happening? The reverse. We're not getting involved till 30% of the game it's almost over. And that's because they do this to do the stuff they used to have to get from us as sales guys. We used to have to give them the recommendations and take them on a tour and all that. Hey, I can see your recommendations. You ain't got none. I'm not putting you on that list. That's why recommendations are still super critical on LinkedIn, especially if you use them to point people to when you get a chance after you've connected with them. I do that all the time. So I connect with somebody who looks like a good target, and I'll send them right to my profile and say, I hope you read these 3 recommendations, and I'll cut and paste sometimes, of the people that are just like you who had me at their event, right? So people shop differently. You need stories. You need to put your best foot forward so that if I'm shopping for you without ever calling you, that you look good. And that means everybody in your company. See, that's where as business owners, I'm going to assume there's some business owners in here. The more we can direct our people and get some good stuff on people's profiles, the more phone calls they're going to get. Now, I know you're fearful about helping them with LinkedIn because if you help them, then a recruiter might find them. But if on their profile it doesn't talk about the brand you sell and the kind of customers you're serving, and it's got recommendations, they're just going to look like another sales schlep, right? They're using these tools for a reason, and they're using it to check us all out. We know that. Now we have to make sure we got great stories. And those stories can be stories written by you or stories written by others, and those are called recommendations.
Stories is recommendations.
Yeah, recommendations are a great story, right? Yes, sir. Yeah, so a great place for your stories is using the professional gallery, which is right here. This is your opportunity to put links to websites and uploaded videos, audios, PowerPoints, you name it, right on your profile, all for free. And this is called your professional gallery. And it's another way to tell your stories or to watch your stories, right? So if you went out and spent a nice bundle of money on a nice company video, president talks about how cool we are and things, that video ought to be on every one of your employees' profile underneath their job entry. Now, can you make them put things on their profile? No. Can you suggest it and explain why it's important and why it's good for our company? Yeah, and people will usually do it. That's what I'm finding more and more as I'm working with corporations now, is that if you flat out go to employees and say, you will do this on your LinkedIn profile because I say so and I sign your check. One of these, right? Where if you go to them and say, listen, we're going to have a little LinkedIn training meeting. I learned a few things about it. This is what we look like. We're going to show you some things to put on your profile that is our brand. I mean, I was teaching a big bank in Wisconsin. And get this, the meeting was with the marketing people of the bank. So 14 people in the room. And they wanted to have the best company page on LinkedIn for a bank. Because they were in charge of the company page, right? So we'll talk about company pages yet. So I showed them how to do their company page and they were all good. So I got to the end of this conversation with these 13 people who were in charge of marketing. And I said, so how are you going to help your 350 bankers? I get to look like this. Wayne, we're the marketing department. We don't really care about the sales guys. I said, okay, let's try this. Pretend I'm a customer. And I was a CFO at the time. I said, I'll search commercial loan officer, Associated Bank, up comes the list. I said, let's take a look at these dudes. No pictures, crappy pictures, right? Description of the bank that was so outdated it wasn't even funny, or no description of the bank. And I said, okay, marketing friends, you're not going to help them? 350 people who are shaking hands with customers all day long, their profiles suck. But you're going to have a great company page. Good for you. When the people who are really interfacing on a daily basis with your customer, they got those kind of pictures up there. Oh my gosh, it's from Facebook. He's drinking. I mean, you really want to have your banker a $10 million line of credit and he's like this? Hello. I don't think you want that, right? So the point is, we got to start crafting our stories. Things like the professional gallery, beautiful tool to do that. And when you get these little boxes on your profile, it's eye-catching too, isn't it? Right? Grabs your eye, boom, boom. People love video. They love uploads. They love downloads. They love to get more information. Now, this will not help you in the keyword search, but this will help you with your story. It will help you with your story to go tell your story past words into things like this. Also, free. It's all free. Nothing on your profile you have to pay for. There's no profile upgrades at all. Yes, sir?
A little bit off topic, but you're talking about...
These aren't yours, are they?
Yeah, this was mine.
It's public, there's pressure on them now to generate more revenues, and they're trying to figure out how to do that. What do you think is coming up in the future? I mean, do you have any indications of how LinkedIn is going to change in order to grow revenue?
So let's talk about where they are now revenue-wise. And I listened to every earnings call because I want to know just what you're saying. They're giving any tips of what they're doing, right? Currently, 2/3 of their income do not come from the ads you see, the sponsored updates you see, you and I upgrading for $30 a month. None of those things. 2/3 of their income come from what? Anybody know? Recruiter. They have a product called Recruiter. And if you have not been contacted by LinkedIn yet, you will. They have a sales force. But the sales force only cares about one thing, selling the recruiter. Because the recruiter basically is a $20,000 package for a year. And what you get for that package is 3 people can have an upgraded LinkedIn to the maximum level for a whole year. All right? So that upgrade is basic, and they sell it like this. They call you and say, hey, I see you're hiring people. They look at some ads or whatever, right? Yeah, we hire people every year, so many a year. Do you ever use a recruiter? Well, once in a while. Well, what do you pay the recruiter? No, about 25 grand a person for a $100,000 person, right? Oh, well, we have something here on LinkedIn for just 20 grand. You can be at it all year. 3 people can look like crazy. This is better than spending 20 grand on one candidate, don't you think? Great sales pitch, right? Well, I have blown through that proposal and it ain't worth it. Way overpriced. So here's where I know they're going to keep getting into recruiters' knickers. Big time. Because that's just, the money's too easy. Those 25% are just laying there, low-hanging fruit. So they're going to continue to make the recruiter product so much better. But they're going to continue to want all 3 billion of us to be on LinkedIn, not 330 million, right? Because the recruiter product only works as well as the database. So they're not going to overprice. They're not going to take away these features. They might take away a few like they did the Third Degree. But they're going to keep it so that we're really moving forward free, because the money is that all 3 billion, that's what there is. There's 3 billion business folks in the world will join LinkedIn, because then the recruiter works well. Here's the other direction they're going. Sharing information. One of their 3 objectives in the next 10 years is to put business magazines out of business. They plan on putting Inc., Forbes, Fortune, gone. Why? Because we're publishing articles now. Because we have the ability, and this is for free too, to write articles about our expertise and what's going on in our industry, because we are feet on the street and we know what's going on. Not the person from Forbes who calls 8 of us and goes, tell me about this, and tell me about this, and tell me about this, and all of a sudden they write this article that's hardly what you told them. Believe me, I talk to reporters 5 times a week, and I go, I told her that. I don't think I ever did, right? We know what we're doing, and they want to put all the magazines in the world out of business, and they want all the business content to be delivered by the experts. Now, will they find a way to monetize that? Probably. They'll probably find a way that maybe we'll write an article and we can pay our way into sort of a certain section where we're going to get more views. So no question, they're going to move that way. Where else are they moving? They're moving so that we stay on LinkedIn more during the day and use it not just in and out. They want us to be on LinkedIn all day. There's going to be a chat feature pretty soon. Pretty sure it's going to be like instant messaging right through LinkedIn. Because if they put a chat feature on there, then we're talking all day, right? So expect that to show up. So they want us on the site a lot. They want us writing our expertise. And then they're going to want everybody to be part of it, because there's still so much money to be made. Now, they've just moved to a new product for salesmen called Sales Navigator. They're going to try to hit you. They got Salesforce for that. They got a Salesforce for Sales Navigator. It's about $100 a month per salesperson. But you guys in this room aren't going to get called. You know why? You don't have enough salespeople. You might. They are calling Salesforces of 300-400 salespeople. And they're calling those really big companies, usually public traded, and going, hey, your salespeople, we got 400. We got this tool on LinkedIn. It's called Sales Navigator. You should have all 400. Here's what it does. They show you what it does. Once again, so overpriced it ain't even funny. Let's do a couple of other things really quickly. We got to talk about company pages. Here's what's going on with company pages. I think I shared here. Here it is. Okay. And I'm going to use these guys because they said I could. Okay? Does everybody raise your hand if you don't have a company page on LinkedIn? Okay, you should. It's free. As long as you have an email address that has a real.com, not a Gmail or a Yahoo mail, you can set up a company page. And you should, because Google loves social media. And chances are that if somebody Googles your name, your company name, that LinkedIn company page will show up somewhere on the first page or the top of the second page. So I don't care if you're a company one like me. You should have a company page because it's free. Now, I don't want to oversell the company page like it's the greatest LinkedIn marketing opportunity that exists. It ain't. It's not. Because it's only as good as this. 90 followers. That's 90 people that if these guys post something on their updates, maybe 90 people will see an update. That's a pretty small audience. How many connections do you have personally?
1,500?
Yeah, so he sends out a status update on his own account, 1,500 people. 90, don't work all day at that, right? Because it's just a small, tiny audience. Now, over time, we'll get more, right? There's some sort of cool things that it does, but here's what's going on that's wrong here. There's just a quick version of my 2.5-hour class on how to do a company page, right? Of course, I can make 2.5 hours out of it because I shouldn't tell people with that. Logo, yes. I'd like a little bigger logo there. But then as we talk about logos, you guys are not attached to your company page. And what's your first name?
Kim.
Kim is. So what's happened there is your logo does not show up on your personal page and hers does. And what it has to do with is this, probably. You were on LinkedIn before you had a company page with a logo. So you just got to go back and reattach. Make sure your employees are attached to your company page correctly because your logo shows up. It's great branding. And if somebody slides over your logo on their personal profile, a box pops open with your information about your company. And what usually happens is if they're not attached, it's because they either the company page timing wasn't the same or they spelled it wrong. Or you're an Inc. or not a Corp. And they just kept typing instead of looking at the companies that LinkedIn finds, ABC companies that list them. Oh, there's ours. Boom. Up it comes, right? Got to attach correctly. After Teledata Solutions, keywords. You're allowed keywords. Now, just so, I'm going really fast. If you want an example of a great company page, like my own profile, go look at my own profile. Look at my LinkedIn company page for my company. It's a great company page. Okay? They don't have All-Star for company pages. Oh, good. You see the parentheses after the name of my company, you guys? You can put keywords in there right after the name of your company. VOIP, right? All right. You should have a banner. The banner catches people's eye. It's not that hard to do. You should have one. In this part of your company page where you can control the story, you should tell a story better than you're telling. And this section, no different than your regular profile. What were the 2 words I told you that you should think about when you're crafting your profile? 2 words.
Keywords.
And? Right. Keywords and stories. Keywords and stories. Keywords and stories. Here too. And whatever you do, do not have that first 2 sentences on your company page, which normally looks like this until somebody pushes see more. It shouldn't say, Grandpa started the company in 1891, and then my dad took it over in 1931, and then I took it over, and before you know it, all they read is about you and Grandpa, and nothing about what you sell. And they don't open see more because I don't want a Grandpa. I got nothing. Now the Grandpa story is good, paragraph 4. Not the first one because of the way it closes and the mobile. This is what shows up on mobile, this first sentence or half. And most people do start off, well, Grandpa, out of here. Grandpa drops down to paragraph 4 because it's still good story, but it doesn't have enough descriptiveness about your company. Okay, what else we got going on here? Status updates. You should post them, but don't spend too much time because it's all about followers, right? Until you get a decent follower base, don't worry too much about it. But what I would do, I would run home right away and post 4 or 5 things so it looks like you at least got something going on. Articles about awards you won, or they can be anything just so you don't have the big blank space and they land on your company page and you go, I guess there's nothing going on in this company. One of the best status updates you can ever use, put here, is your HR department should always put their job openings. HR should be a person that's authorized to be in the company page, and every week they should post the job openings. And here's why. Because I teach a beginner LinkedIn class to job seekers, and I do lots of webinars. And I tell job seekers, how am I going to find a job on LinkedIn? I said, well, one thing you should do is you should know the companies you want to work for. If you do, you should go follow every one of them. Because there's a good chance those companies, because you're following them, you'll get a message when they post a new job opening. One lady called me up and said, Wayne, it worked like a champ. I said, what worked like a champ? She said, I went home just like you said that night. I have my 10 companies I want to work for, and I went follow. And 3 weeks later, I got a phone call. Hi, I see you're following our company page, and I'm the HR director. Why? And she said, well, this guy told me, and I did. She said, well, I looked at your profile. You look dynamite. Got the job. By the way, your HR director should also be clicking your followers from time to time because they're sitting in there. Now, your competitors are going to be followers. Followers is a closed marketing loop. Got it? There's no permission here. But that also means you should go follow your competitors. For sure. Why not? You're going to learn something in there. Yes, sir.
What's your thoughts on using the paid job posting in LinkedIn versus just...
Okay, so let's talk about that so we don't forget. The whole recruiting thing, and I covered some of it today. Here's a shortcut for you. I wrote an article. This is my website, powerformula.net. Powerformula.net, okay? Blog. The blog is where all my past tips that you'll sign up for today. Go in there and down in the search box for the blog, type in next great employee. and you'll get this article. The 8 ways to use LinkedIn to find your next great employee. And one of them, number 8, is $200 a month for a posting. I think they're pretty good. But I think better than that is this. You do an advanced people search, just like I told you with my interior designers, right? And you send out messages, even if they're in mails, to the right people. And here's what I'll tell you about that message. The highest ranking person in the company should send it. Let's face it, if I'm a sales guy, great sales guy, and I get a note from the HR department from your company saying, hey, we got openings for salespeople. I get a message from you, the president, that says, you know what? I was just scouting around LinkedIn. I found your profile. You are so good, it's unbelievable. I want to talk to you. Coming from the president. You know what that guy does when he goes home to his wife that night? Honey, you won't believe who contacted me tonight. The president of our competitor. He wants to talk to me. That's right. The HR can do it, but I think it's better if it comes from the VP of sales or the president. Now, you might have to use an in-mail and all that. I know all that. But the point is, it's versus $25,000 with a recruiter.
Yeah, I just want to share, I mean, I posted all of our positions, and then the person who I had hired to help me with LinkedIn said you should put a title, something like, you know, huge expansion, growth, blah, 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 all this stuff, and then I put it up, and it went out, I guess.
As a status update?
As a status update. And literally, one of the largest distributors in my industry, the president and CEO actually, you know, emailed me and said, hey, you know, what's going on? How can we do more business? Blah, blah, blah.
I had a CEO, I taught a tech group, which is like Vistagen, Wisconsin. I taught a tech group, and I showed them how they could put job postings in their personal status updates. This guy called me 6 weeks later and said, Wayne, I just saved $30,000. I said, what'd you do? He said, well, before I called a recruiter, I went into my status updates and I just asked my network if anybody knew anybody for VP of manufacturing, ISO 9000, all the buzzwords that are important to him. And he said, I just pushed the button. And it was about a week and a half later, somebody called, one of my friends said, are you still looking for that guy? Because I just met a guy, a friend of mine, a friend of a friend, who sounds like he'd be perfect. Done. Right? So, and that's one of the steps is you can use status updates. But that's a little slower step, right? Where you go right at somebody, boom, right? So this is an article I want you guys to use on the recruiting side of it. I wanted to show you this other article that's going to be important to you. It's how to build your LinkedIn company marketing machine. Now let me tell you what's going on here. I wish we had time to cover all this stuff, but we don't. But this article will help you. This article was written for the business owner who would like to try to standardize some of the people's profiles. And when I wrote this article, and it went out to my whole mailing list, right? Not everybody's an owner of a company. A lot of people are job seekers and sales guys. I got back all these nasty grams. Wayne, I'm not doing that for the company. Are you kidding? I got all these nasty grams. And I just wrote back to the people. I said, listen, sometimes I have to write the article to the owner. This is the best practice. Asking your people to do this is the best practice. Do what you want. I don't know, whatever your documents or your legal, I don't know. I'm just telling you, I can't always write to you as a sales guy looking for his next opportunity. I like business owners. I used to be one. I'm trying to help you. So these are the 6 things I would try to by formulating a LinkedIn company guideline. That's my suggestion. You should have a social media policy. That's legal. But you should have also a LinkedIn company guideline that you attempt to train and direct people on how to do their profiles so that we all can have a consistent branding. Will they all do it? Maybe not. Will many of them do it? Sure, right? So, and this will be the list of the things that I'd like you to think about doing. Okay, let me just show you one more feature I think you're going to think is just so cool. And then we're going to go through the checklist quickly. It's called Alumni. What's that? So this is on my blog. Once again, powerformula.net. Go to the blog, click the blog button, and down in the search box, type in LinkedIn Company Marketing Machine. It'll come up. By the way, while you're on my website, you can get all these free documents, including that keyword worksheet right here. These are all free PDFs. How to do your headline better, how to find the right groups, all kinds of cool stuff. Okay, one more feature that I just can't leave without showing you this because it's just too cool. It's called Alumni. Okay, here's what Alumni is. your ability to search people that went to a certain school. So you go up here, and this is all in the book. So you'll be universities, type in the name of a school. It does not have to be the school you went to. It can be any school. So I'll click Marquette. I could have put Harvard in there, it wouldn't matter. Here's a list. Watch this. This is hot. Explore the careers of all 60,000 people that went to Marquette and they're on LinkedIn. Watch this. Here's a full list that I can filter by the city they live in, where they work, what they do, how they're skilled at. So watch this. Let's say I'm interested in New York City. Here's New York City. 1,400 people graduated from Marquette, New York City. And then I want to just talk to the people that work at Pfizer. And then I want to just look at the people, and then, well, they're down to that few people. But here they all are, sitting here for you. Tell me that's not cool. This is one of your best recruiting tools in the world. I sat down with a business owner from South Carolina just a week ago. And he told me, he said, Wayne, you think you can help me? I said, oh, I can help you. And he said, we're hiring kids right out of school, electrical engineers. I said, do you have certain schools that are good down there? Oh yeah, I got these 3 schools. They're the best. We use this tool. And you know what I did? Get this. I was able to put those 3 schools in here. But then see this right here? Anybody can see that in the front? What's that mean? Since I can search by... Right, so what does that tell me?
I want recent graduates.
Right, so you can get the young... I don't want any old tired guys that are going to be a bunch of whatevers. Sorry to be discriminatory. I'm an old guy, I can say that. We want the young bucks. This thing's a home run. And you can search any school you want, not just the ones you went to. And you can, oh man, when they came out with this feature, I'll never forget it. It was about 2.5 years ago. I'm sitting on the couch with my wife, and all of a sudden, somebody says, hey, there's a new feature on LinkedIn. That's what they do, everything like that, right? I started clicking. I said, oh my gosh, honey, look at that. This thing is so cool. And she looked at me and she said, I am really worried about you. You are really getting geekier by the minute, man. And I said, this is a great business development tool, not let alone a recruiting tool. But thirdly, honey, it's free. They could have, think about it, they could have shoved this feature into the paid account and go, you're going to love this one, but it is part of $20 a month. No, free. Yes, sir. So you go up to the search box, and instead of searching generally, you slide down to university and type the name of the school, and then you click Explore the Careers of, and the whole database will come up, and the people will show up at the bottom. Okay, last thing, handout. Last handout we didn't cover. This worksheet. This worksheet is really meant so that you can go back to the office and be dangerous, right? So that you can go back to the office and say, I don't know, the guy throw it, it's like drinking out of a fire hose with this guy. But here are the best things for your sales guys and your human resource department and your marketing department and your purchasing department, and last but not least, you. Okay? So this is best practices by department. And some of the things we covered, and some of the things you'll see in the book, and other things, if you want to send me a little note because you're struggling with something, just let me know. But I want to finish this by talking about you. Okay, so listen up on this. And I'm looking at you as the business owner. So I'm going to do that. If you're not that, just you can do what you want with this conversation. But I have taught so many groups like this of business owners. And here's the problem. The problem is in your person, this is intrusive. This is freaky. It's not, it just doesn't feel comfortable at all. It's got all kinds of no written all over it, right? In your person. And because of that, guess what you're doing? You're holding your organization back from really gaining this. Because you go, this is, but then, so you're not helping your people use this thing to sell and find out, because in your person you go, it just doesn't feel right to me. I'm the guy. So I ask you to do this as I close. Divorce yourself from that concept. Divorce yourself about how you feel about LinkedIn personally, because you heard my story at the very beginning. I was you. And think to yourself, you know what? I may not like this tool in my person. And I'm going to tidy up. I'm going to do a good profile for myself. And I'm not going to take connection requests from sales guys. That's fine. As a matter of fact, you can set it up so nobody can invite you unless they have your email address. Did you know that? You as the president could say, you know what? If I make everybody have the email to invite me, at least they got to know me a little bit. I like that setting. It's a great setting for a president. And you could tighten that thing up as much as you want. But don't let the way you feel about it personally stop your organization from realizing this baby's just waiting for you to find the best people, to find the best customers, new suppliers and vendors, and on and on and on it goes.